Cause it is a competition. I walk around with an invisible number on top of my head, just like everybody else in this world. Whether you want to admit it or not.
You know what? Like every week they get better. It doesn't even really matter the topic, man. It's just, how can it be whack if everybody's being real?
Because there's a divine order to this. So if you want a woman to submit to you, you need to submit to God.
Polyamory is not based on I want to have sex with more than one person. Like, it's a committed relationship between a particular group of individuals, where it's 3 or 4, but they're not like, we're together, now we're going out, we're doing this. No, we're together. They're a relationship together.
Cause it is a competition. I walk around with an invisible number on top of my head, just like everybody else in this world. Whether you want to admit it or not.
You know what? Like every week they get better. It doesn't even really matter the topic, man. It's just, how can it be whack if everybody's being real?
Because there's a divine order to this. So if you want a woman to submit to you, you need to submit to God.
Polyamory is not based on I want to have sex with more than one person. Like, it's a committed relationship between a particular group of individuals, where it's 3 or 4, but they're not like, we're together, now we're going out, we're doing this. No, we're together. They're a relationship together.
Cause it is a competition. I walk around with an invisible number on top of my head, just like everybody else in this world. Whether you want to admit it or not.
You know what? Like every week they get better. It doesn't even really matter the topic, man. It's just, how can it be whack if everybody's being real?
Because there's a divine order to this. So if you want a woman to submit to you, you need to submit to God.
Polyamory is not based on I want to have sex with more than one person. Like, it's a committed relationship between a particular group of individuals, where it's 3 or 4, but they're not like, we're together, now we're going out, we're doing this. No, we're together. They're a relationship together.
Cause it is a competition. I walk around with an invisible number on top of my head, just like everybody else in this world. Whether you want to admit it or not.
You know what? Like every week they get better. It doesn't even really matter the topic, man. It's just, how can it be whack if everybody's being real?
Because there's a divine order to this. So if you want a woman to submit to you, you need to submit to God.
Polyamory is not based on I want to have sex with more than one person. Like, it's a committed relationship between a particular group of individuals, where it's 3 or 4, but they're not like, we're together, now we're going out.
Hey y'all, what's up? What is up? Oh my goodness. It's so much going on in this world today that I really wanted to talk about, but I definitely want to show y'all this Nicki Minaj and Kevin Samuels interview and get y'all opinion. Because I have my opinions, but I really want to hear what y'all gotta say. But first of all, how y'all doing? Welcome. I appreciate all my supporters. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm like distracted because I'm like looking on something. But yeah, so like I definitely want to talk about this, right? Like talk about this. Hi, Glowco. How are you? I want to talk about what's going on with this Nicki Minaj and Kevin Samuels interview because everybody have been buzzing about it. They've been talking about it all day. Oh my God, this is going on. What's going on? And so I'm really curious as to how people feel about it. And if you haven't seen it, I want to play it for y'all. But first of all, I'll kind of summarize it. Nicki, I guess she does her own lives on IG. I don't know because I don't follow Nicki Minaj. I just don't. So somebody said they didn't see it good. I'm gonna play it so y'all can kind of see it and then give me some feedback. I don't really follow Nicki. I'm not a fan. I'm not I don't hate her or anything. It's just that I'm not really a fan of, like that. But anyway, she has a live that she does on IG every so often. And it looks like Kevin Samuels kind of jumped on her live. And he was, pretty much, I think she questioned him about some of his talking points. And I'm not going to play the whole entire interview because it was like 18 minutes and it was really long. But I kind of fast forwarded to the parts that kind of get into the meat of the discussion where she asked him questions specifically about some of his talking points. And it's interesting in the beginning of it, she kind of was like, what do you rank me, Kevin? What do you rank me? Because I know you rank women. And then Kevin begins to ask her questions like he does all the other women, like how tall are you? What's your dress size? All these crazy questions that he asks, right? That kind of contributes to him ranking. And he ranked Nicki very high. So I want to know what y'all think about that because he ranked her a 9. And his thing is a 7, right? Is like he don't let people rank themselves a 7. And then he doesn't, you got to pretty much rank yourself either higher than a 7 or lower than a 7. So he ranked her a 9 and he based it on some like universal beauty standards. And he said the symmetry of her face kind of contributes to why he gave her a 9. So I'm curious what y'all think about that whole ranking thing. But I definitely want to get into this discussion about Nicki Minaj and Kevin Samuels. And she actually ended up, after this Kevin Samuels interview, she ended up doing like another live with Lala Anthony, where they kind of discussed some of the issues that she kind of have with not just Kevin Samuels, but with Black women who validate and support, these messages that come from people like Kevin Samuels. And so I'm super curious how y'all gonna react to this. So, on top of that, I do, if we have time, want to get into the discussion of Whoopi Goldberg and what she said on The View and kind of how y'all feel about what she said on The View. And was that worth them canceling culture on her? Because she canceled, right? Or she at least suspended for 2 weeks. And how do y'all feel about her comment with Whoopi Goldberg's comment? And then lastly, the young lady who committed suicide or who suspected to have committed suicide, the Black lady who won Miss America. And I'll get the details and specifics on that. But just talking about that a little bit. And I don't even like to put all of these people, I don't like to put all those conversations in one because they all deserve their own segment and or attention, especially the suicide attempt. And I actually, you know what, now that I'm thinking about it, I might talk about that another day, the suicide attempt from that Black woman, and just what's going on there, because that really concerned me. That really concerned me for a lot of reasons, and I really want to give it attention and bring it to light. And I don't want to gloss over it. So yeah, so I will definitely, let's talk about, we're gonna table that one because I think that that's important to discuss. But let me go ahead and play this Nicki Minaj. Hold on, I'm trying to put this light on because I feel like I'm like in the dark over here. Sorry, I'm making all this noise. Let me put this, I'm gonna put this on, and then while I'm doing this, y'all can kind of hear this whole Nicki thing and tell me what y'all think. Hold on, let me share my screen.
Yeah. And so again, that was a clip. I didn't see the context really, but
well, I get a rap of hating Black women, and it's far from that. I mean, there are over 50 Black women who report that they've gotten married as a result of watching my content.
Really,
it's on my Instagram. I actually had a young sister just post up saying, "Hey, as a result of you, I snatched the ring." I just actually posted a brother who was about to move to the Dominican Republic, and he found his wife in my Facebook group. Like 12 couples have gotten married in there. But that stuff doesn't get publicized. But when I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about men and women, but because I'm Black, I'm talking about us. And from time to time, I would bring stuff in, and then a lot of times sisters would say, well, men, when they get to a certain level, they only want women this or that. So I let women from other races come in, like, okay, well, can you learn anything from them? What would you teach them? And the one woman came in and she thought she was going to do what I did to Black women. I'm like, hold on, oh wait. Now we can talk this way.
So I wanted to stop it there because I wanted to give y'all context, because I kind of started it at the not at the beginning, but like 5 or 6 minutes in. Nicki asked him, why do Black men, when they get to a certain level in their careers, why do they marry outside of their race, right? Or why do they marry non-Black women? And so Kevin is attempting to answer that. Actually, he's talking about also when he had a non-Black woman on the show. She came on the show, and I guess because of the way he speaks about Black women, she felt like he was going to allow her to speak negatively about Black women. And here's my point. You cannot control that. If you put a message out there where women of all other cultures hear these messages and they think from that message that you don't like Black women, then you can't then say, when someone comes in your feed or when they come on your show, oh, you can't say that. They're regurgitating your talking points. I know, AJ, I need to get on Nicki, but I'm just saying that, you know, he's talking about something that's very relevant. But let me play it, because I really want y'all to continue to hear this conversation.
Carrie, you sit your ass down over there, because I don't play that. I wouldn't let, you know, despite popular opinion, I love my mother, I love my daughter, but we do have to have a family conversation. And it's what's starting to happen more is actually we're starting to have more conversations about this. It ain't comfortable, but we're starting to see progress.
Well, let me ask you this just outright then. Why do successful Black men date?
Okay, so what progress do y'all see? And I'm sorry, I'm stopping the video again because I just want to comment on what Kevin Samuels just said, in that he sees progress. where do he see progress? Because all I see is gender wars just taking over and all these missed messages. So y'all comment, tell me if I'm wrong, because Kevin is like, oh, I guess because he got one or two success stories that claim as a result of listening to his content, they got married or they had a successful partnership. So I guess he's calling that a success. Meanwhile, our demographic and numbers are still very low. And so I'm just trying to figure out where this progress is coming from. I guess he's saying it's slow and steady. So y'all let me know if I'm, if I'm being a Debbie Downer. But this is just my impression. Let me keep this video going because I want y'all to hear what he got to say to this question about why do Black men, when they hit a level of success, marry non-Black women or women of no color?
Outside of their race.
Well, I would say this. When I look at men, I split them up. Guys I consider to be in the industry, music, entertainment, athletics, and then guys on the business side.
Okay.
Business side, because I come from that side. But more often than not, Black men want to be with Black women. We still marry. 85% of Black men are married to Black women.
Oh.
When
Okay.
I have my guys come to me, even after they got themselves together, like Dennis Furling, the guy who just moved, he found his Black wife in my group. Black men we want.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm stopping it again because he put that statistic out there that 85% of Black men are married to Black women. And it can be very misleading when you put that statistic out and you don't like really provide the analytical context or data to support that. There is 26% of Black Americans, 26, 29. Some people dispute. It says it could be up to 29. Okay, I'll say 29.5 was the last article I read. Out of that 29%, 85% of the 29 are married to Black women. But if you put a perception out there that like 85% of men are married to Black women, it looks like different, right? And I think that I just wanted to call, attention to that because I think sometimes men in this space, not just Kevin Samuels, other men, they throw a lot of statistical data out there, but they really don't talk about the context in which this data is coming from, right? They don't explain, okay, yes, only 29% of us are married in the first place. And then we have 85% of those that are actually married to Black women. So I want to bring attention to that because that's important. Before y'all listen to the rest, okay? And I am gonna stop it because I really want to talk about this. I want to get into it, and I want to make sure that I really touch on some of the points that Kevin Samuels made in this argument.
To be with them. The problem is, let's be honest. In my lifetime, we weren't really raised to learn how to get along with one another. We can kick it, we can hook up. And but can we work together long term? And I mean, you're married now, right? Okay, relationship is a skill set. It's different than dating in short term. We really want to talk.
Why do y'all think that Nicki didn't want to answer that question? Because did you see her hesitation when he said, "You're married, right?" It's almost like, and I'm going to speak for her, and it's almost like men kind of qualify us based on our marital status, right? Like you somehow can't have a good opinion or your opinion is not purposeful because we are not married, right? So it just depends on the fact of your marital status, whether or not you're valuable or worthy of discussion or conversation. And I don't like that. But AJ said he don't think that she heard the question. I don't know. I think she heard it and was kind of like, I don't know if I would want to answer that. But I do think that men ask you that in these spaces as a qualifier or something. It's like, to, you know, to make your opinion seem more valuable than another woman. You don't see a lot of women questioning whether men are married in these spaces. And also, you know, we take advice from men regardless of whether they have credentials, whether they have had successful relationships. We take advice from Black men in these spaces regardless. We don't, it doesn't even matter their marital status. But for women, and I know because I've been on several panels and I have been in several circumstances where the first question men will ask me is, am I married? And then depending on how I answer that question, they qualify my opinion and or conversation, or they try to at least. But let me continue so that you all can hear what Kevin Samuels have to say, because I really want to get to a really good point in here, and then get your opinions. Please note your opinions.
All that kind of stuff. And what successful people who are doing good in their professional life want to fail in their personal life. And in the Black community in particular, when we fail in our personal lives, we pay a huge penalty because so few of us get married. It's almost like we like to see people's marriages fall, but we need more of those things in order to build whatever we're going to be, because people may not like my method, but I want to see more Black men who want Black wives get with Black women. And that's the outcome we're getting. It ain't pretty. Sometimes it ain't pretty.
Can I say something? Real quick? Black women, can we stop talking about if these niggas want us or not? Excuse me, Kevin. This is not. I'm talking to Black women real quick. Can we stop posting all day on TikTok? Because I newly went to TikTok and I just kept seeing this. Mm-hmm. Black women, can we stop talking about if Black men, if these successful Black men want us or not? Mm-hmm. Like, can we just focus on us and we be successful, and then we go out there and we decide who the fuck we want? Because what I've been seeing is, I feel like I've been seeing men using that as an opportunity because they've been hurt and somebody done, and they've been using it as a way to come out and lash out and poke fun at Black women and use it as a way to feel like they somebody or they something. Or so for all you niggas that's doing that on TikTok, wherever the fuck y'all at, eat a dick, go away. Nobody gives a shit about you. And I want Black women to stop fucking posting about whether or not y'all want Black women or not. Okay? Well, I want Black women just to focus on themselves, be successful, and then you go out there and you decide the trajectory of your life. Okay?
Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of hurt on both sides. And especially in the Black community, we don't really do a lot with counseling, therapy. I recommend therapy often because we got a lot of stuff individually that we want to deal with. And marriage and relationships are not for everybody. And I'm just trying to, ultimately I ask people, what do you want? What do you want? And what are you prepared to do to get what you want? And are you willing to pay that cost? It's really the conversation, but it always gets kind of whittled down. But at the end of the day, what we are seeing is, you know, especially if you're under 30, it's harder for guys today under 30 than it was from 50 years ago, because you can't take care of a family on out of high school or just coming out. So they're at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And I just had men's week, and I told guys, look, while you're under 30, work on getting yourself together, because like it or not, you're really not in a position like you should be able to work with, lead, do anything like that. And you see the hate, not the hate, but the hurt on both sides, because a lot of times people will use these talking points to go at and poke women over here, but that's not what's going on right now. This year, we're past the sound. I mean, we still laugh.
So let me, I kind of want to end it there, you guys, because I mean, I'm going to put the link. I'll put the link in my description if you guys want to watch the full interview and kind of hear his talking points. But I do think that that last part of what Kevin Samuels said is very important, because a lot of the men who listen to his content, they lose the fact that Kevin Samuels is an image consultant. And if you watch this entire interview all over again, he tells Nicki, like, hey, you know, I'm an image consultant. That's what I do, right? Even when I was on his show and I kind of talked to him about his purpose, he told me he was an image consultant as well. He was like, I'm an image consultant. You know, I work with people. I help them to create this persona about who they are, about themselves, right? He helps their exterior. So he kind of tells you how to behave, how you should dress, what you should aim for, like what you should look for. But a lot of times what the men miss in his conversations, they miss this, because he used to talk about men in his content before he saw that exploiting Black women was more profitable. Okay. And so I just want to, you know, bring that to y'all attention, that before he decided criticizing Black women is more profitable, he really would talk about Black men and what y'all had going on. And so a lot of what he's talking about is the image, right? You can change the image all you want, but a lot of you don't listen to him when he's telling you that there's things that you have to change about the way you lead, your wealth, your resources, your access, your education. Like, so there's things that you still need to work on. Merely putting on a suit is not going to change your perception and how you are in the world and your value. It's not going to do that. So he can work on your image. He can give you guys the blueprint of how you should dress, how you should look, how you should talk, you know, what types of things you should have to be successful. But you guys don't listen to him when he's telling you the things that you need to do with your life in order to attract the women that you really want. You all, like, you completely miss that. And a lot of the men, what they do is they just want to hone in on the stuff that he say about women. And so this conversation is less about how much I hate the context or the information that Kevin Samuels put out, and more about how people misunderstand the message and everything that's going on. And so I think that people forget that he is an image consultant, and that is his primary source for you men, right? And he knows that the only way to really attract Black men, and this is sad what I'm about to say. It's really sad what I'm about to say. But he knows that the only way to attract Black men is to really criticize and ridicule Black women, right? He knows that. He knows that. And so he's capitalized off that. He understands that you are his market and he has to market to you. And that is the only way to do it. And as you can see, Nicki, and don't, please, I love Nicki, because she's a Sagittarius like me, right? And she's very outspoken. She's very honest. And I think that she gives women the advice that she think is good for women. I can argue that some of it is, but that's not what this is about, right? We can talk about that at another date. I think she gives women the advice that she thinks is good for them, that's going to empower them, that's going to make them do better in life. I do fundamentally feel like her point can confuse women and make women make decisions that might not be the best. But you see here that Kevin Samuels will change his perspective when the woman has a different power or a social and economic status, right? Because typically Nicki, right, is a woman that the manosphere talks heavily about in a negative way. And Kevin Samuels is part of the manosphere. And any other woman, if she wasn't famous, if she didn't have money, if she didn't have clout, if she didn't have this, Kevin Samuels would have definitely pushed back on a woman like Nicki, because she represents a woman that they often criticize and ridicule. But because, so you got to see that depending on the woman, right? And in my opinion, Nicki gave no fucks about his conversation or how he valued her or how he viewed her. And so that also matters, right? And if something else that women should listen to is, should we care about how they see us and how they value us, right? Up-leveled approach said, right, it's just like putting on a dress doesn't automatically make you a woman or feminine. Absolutely. Going back to my previous point. Nicki lose her superpowers when her real edges are out. All right, so what we not gonna do is criticize women for their hair now. Now that is ridiculous. Let's talk about these talking points. And I'm gonna put the link in the chat because I really want to hear what you guys have to say about that interview. If you've watched it in total. I just played like a couple minutes, maybe 4 or 5 minutes of the interview, just so that you can hear some of the talking points regurgitated, because they hit on some very specific things about why Black men with money marry women that are, outside of our race. Like, what is the real issue with that? And Kevin Samuels was talking to Nicki about it. But he also just kind of talked about his purpose and how he just wanted to open up the conversation and create this dialogue where we can really just have constructive dialogue, because he recognizes that there's hurt on both sides, not just Black men who feel hurt and betrayed and humiliated. It is Black women as well. Where is the root of this, and how do we come together to have these conversations? Do I think that Kevin Samuels cares about having those conversations? No, I don't. But I guess that's not really the fact that he is kind of instrumental in launching these conversations. That's important. He clowns weak women. Okay, Tom, can you come up? You don't have to cam up. I just did the StreamYard link. I really want you to explain that point. Because that's a very interesting point, that Kevin Samuels clowns weak women. I don't know if I necessarily disagree with you, but I do want to hear what you mean by that. It says Kevin kowtow to celebrity. There's no surprise there. Again, I trust no man that focuses on image. And Shay, that's interesting because a lot of men do trust him. They do trust him. And they do think that his voice is powerful, and they do feel like he is helping them to achieve some goal. Again, when you know that image consulting is really the primary source, then you also need to know that everything that the person is advising you and telling you is really just for the exterior and the presentation of it all, right? And maybe some men are okay with having that presentation, or maybe some people are okay with having that presentation, but then eventually it gets to a place where you have to really show up and you have to put some of those skills to the test, and you really don't have it because really you just worked on the exterior, right? I can clean up my image and I can present like I'm Michelle Obama. And then somebody can catch me in a video cursing somebody out and be like, well, she really ain't that, right? Like, because I really, at my core, I'm different than what I'm presenting to everyone else. And eventually I'll be exposed. And so I don't see the purpose of presenting in one fashion and then not really working on the things, or not really telling men, because he's focusing on showing you the women who are clearly misguided and coming on his stage and talking about what they want from men, when they really, most of the time, they don't have any qualities that will attract a man that they're describing. And so a lot of those women, like I honestly attributed it to acting or people who are not real, because I can't, for me, even validate that those are real women with those kind of expectations. I can't. And that's my major criticism of modern day Black men. They focus on materialistic qualities in who they choose to value and follow, and not intrinsic qualities. Absolutely. Because you care so much about how you present to outsiders that you really don't care about self-evaluating and making sure that you really have good qualities and that you really have skill sets that you need in order to maintain a partnership and be in successful relationships if that's what you desire. But I really want someone to come on, because I have questions about men in these spaces, because they do tend to have a lot of arguments against women, natural women I just recognize that there's a war on women in general, and not even just our community, but just overall there's a war on women. And women, we get a lot of flack. And so I often wonder, do men really like women? Right? Not all men, obviously. There's so many men who love women. And I know that. And so y'all don't have to come on here. But the men who have these talking points that kind of criticize women for our body types, and we do bear children, that changes our body. Some of those things are just natural things that's going to happen to women. We often get criticized for it. And the reason why I bring that up is that the manosphere have a lot of talking points that are consistent with men who don't like women. And not that they don't like women, but that they are not interested in women in a certain way. And so I do want to be clear about maybe some of the talking points. And so I would love for someone to come up and clarify that for me. I don't want to make judgments about it, but I do think that some of the talking points, especially about women in our body, women being emotional, women, some of the things that we do as far as our hair, and our nails and etc., a lot of their criticisms about women, natural women, and what we do to make ourselves feel better, whatever we do, right? They just seem to be anti-woman. And yeah, I kind of got some conversations. I have some questions for people who have that an up-leveled approach there. We are heavily criticized for the changes that we go through. Yeah, we are. And I'm curious about men who criticize us for that. I know that a lot of like manosphere people kind of troll my page. Today's not the day to troll. So if you want to troll, that's fine. But I would love for my trolls to really come on and give me some like pushback. I want to hear it. And I want to be open to listening to your point. But obviously I'm going to give my opinion about what you say. And I think that that's important. I think a lot of people praise Nicki for this conversation, that Nicki basically kind of called light to the fact that Black women need to choose better, and that we need to stop validating men in these spaces. And I think that it's not going to change, right? Because not all Black women, okay? So let me say this, because I think a lot of people, they say when I say Black women or Black men that I'm talking to everyone, and I'm not. Obviously, I just don't distinguish, because I'm kind of being radical in my approach, because I feel like that's kind of how the manosphere approach those conversations, just in a real radical way. They're just like, Black women, all Black women, Black women do this, Black women do that. Yeah, I know y'all don't like my voice, but I am being radical when I say Black men and Black women, but Black women, or Black, women, we tend to be the ones that are heavy supporters of the like Black male coaches, the Black male dating coaches. We do validate a lot of Black male dating coaches, even when they don't have like the credentials or they haven't had a successful relationship, or we qualify them based on just like their talking points and them being able to easily articulate their arguments. And I think we also validate it based on what other Black men validate, right? So like we'll say, okay, well, other Black men are listening to him, so then we should listen to him, because we have this like extreme sense of wanting to be accepted and understood and validated by Black men. And it's fine. I understand that that's what it is. I am that way as well. I'm not trying to remove myself from the equation. Like, they call it a Black male worship culture, where we just have this extreme sense to be validated by Black men, that we don't care what credentials they have or what they bring to the table, that we will validate them regardless, and that we will support them and we will back them up and we will be main contributors to their success, even when we know they're exploiting us. And it's extremely sad for me. So I think that Nicki was kind of like, what are y'all doing? Like, why do y'all need? And it was interesting, like in the middle of Kevin Samuels talking and his talking points, she stopped the conversation to be like, Black women, y'all really gonna let this man qualify y'all? Or like, y'all really think that he is that important that he needs to tell you how to value yourself and what your value is? And she basically challenged us to be like, why do we qualify these individuals? What is it about these Black men in these spaces that makes them qualified to tell you how worthy you are? So I would love to hear, even if it's a woman, like your perspective, a Black woman, your perspective on why we tend to validate people with no credentials, with no success rates, with no proven reason why these things work, and not to discredit Kevin, because I do know that he has been married twice. And for me, married people who have been married before gives really good marriage advice. And even if his marriages were a failure, the fact that he did in fact get married, and the fact that he did in fact have those types of relationships and bonds with someone, qualifies him to be able to speak on those situations, in my opinion. Because I do think that a person who's been through it and experience is the best teacher. And for me, the fact that I know that he has been through marriage twice and that he did attempt to commit, he's a father, all of those things, in fact, qualifies him, in my opinion, to give advice on specific situations. So you all tell me if you disagree with that. It's perfectly fine if you do. I know some people are like, nope, you got to be successful in your relationship in order to give me advice. Some people don't want to hear from divorced people because they feel like you already failed at marriage before, so you can't possibly help me. Hey, AJ.
Hey, what up, man?
What's up?
I don't have a speech prepared. I wasn't ready.
Oh, that's fine. I'm like on the cuff. Let me read
Yeah.
Shay's. Let me read Shay's comment. He said, my issue is with the choice of men the women look to for validation. I take very little of what most of them say seriously, because many of them don't even know how to think. And this is very important, Shay, because I do wonder why we want validation from certain men in this space. I do wonder that. Because I could care less what Kevin Samuels rank me or what my rating is. I could care less what he thinks I am. It just would not change. I didn't even ask him when I came on his show. I honestly asked him, why did he feel the need to rank women, period? Because I really wanted to know what is your mindset, and why do you think that you should rank women at all? And he pretty much, to me, he told me, like, I'm an image consultant. Okay. Part of what I do is I listen to men and what men want. And part of that helps him with his business, right? Because it's like, I'm working on your image anyway. So therefore, I want to listen to what you want so that I can make sure that I give you a representation or reflection of that, at least when I'm doing your consulting. And so he's listening to that, and he's trying to provide men something like along those lines as to what they are looking for, what they value. And so I think that that was pretty much clear to me, that he's ranking people because he really knows what men, universal beauty standards or whatever beauty standards they go off of, look for in women. And therefore, he uses that to qualify women based on what he's been hearing, right, from all of these men that he's consulting with. And he says that he consults with men of all socioeconomic backgrounds and all these different ranges and ages, etc. So yeah, what do you think, AJ? What do you think about a lot of the stuff that I've been saying, trying to just make some sense of this Kevin Samuels and Nicki Minaj conversation?
First of all, I thought the conversation was interesting. I don't know what, of course, I don't know what drove the conversation, like what led up to it actually happening. My thought would be maybe either somebody she knows or someone in her chat talked about him enough for
Is she
for
kind
her
of
to
doing
want.
a show? Like she's doing like
She has a
lives and
podcast.
stuff? Okay, so she's doing podcasts. Okay.
She yeah, because she called it the Queen something. I forget, the Queen's Court or the Queen something, and she wanted him to come on. So I think it was more of a, and not that Nicki Minaj needs clout, but regardless of who you are, when you start a podcast, you start off small. Nobody really knows you. She got millions of followers, but you know, a lot of times it's hard to even transition from one environment to another environment. So if people are following you on Instagram, it's hard to chart, you know, move them over to YouTube. So this may just be a way to get a little bit of a supercharge going pretty fast. It won't take her long. It won't take her long at all before, and that's if it's not big already, because it might be. I didn't know she had a podcast, so that's kind of what I think it is. And I think that there was a small potential for her to, I want to say that maybe her audience wanted her to kind of black out on him and go off on him a little bit, because she referenced that in that discussion. She said, "Hey, look, I'm not just going to black out on this man because y'all want me to. I haven't seen enough of his content yet." So she doesn't really know much about him.
I will say this, that as a content creator, people, a lot of people send me stuff and they're like, "Oh, you should talk about this on the show. You should talk about that on the show." So I can only imagine Nicki Minaj and where, you know, her influence and her Barbie, you know, the Barbs, you know, that's why I'm like, I'm not going to say nothing about her because I don't want no Barbs coming on my channel and like cursing me out. But the Barbs, like, they follow her. And I think a lot of women are really down about the things that they hear on these like YouTube spaces, the manosphere, all those spaces. And they asked her to speak on it because it sounds like they asked her to kind of like come and speak on it.
Probably so.
I do think that she was respectful to Kevin Samuels, and a lot of me, I was respectful to Kevin Samuels too. I know that we get a lot of backlash for being like respectful to him because people wanted me to like just be like, just go in on Kevin Samuels. But
it's just a matter of what energy you're being met with, right?
Right. It is. And then, I mean, obviously, he's a very rational man. I mean, a lot of his talk points, I'm not going to dispute them and or call him tell him that he's lying about whatever he feels about the conversation. I can only go by the conversation and what he said he was doing and what he said was his purpose, and taking his word for just that. But a lot of people were like, no, you need to go off on him and you took it easy on him.
Yeah,
And I
but
think there's
everybody wants you
nothing.
to do that. If
Yeah,
everybody and anybody wants to go off on a guy, he has enough smoke shows for anybody to pop up and give him smoke. So,
that's right. That's
it's
right.
easy to put it to you or anybody else and say, hey, go up there and do it and say all the things that I want to say to him. But I mean, just like Mike Tyson, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. So it's much different. We all got a plan on how things want to go or how you want that conversation to go until you start to have it or until you
Right.
start to see that person face to face. There's a lot of times I pre-plan conversations for work for some of my staff or whatever. I get there and it derails immediately and I got to play psychological warfare to get it back where it needs to be.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
so funny because
Yeah, go ahead.
did I know you then, AJ, when I went on Kevin Samuel's show? Because I
No,
know I
that's how I
would've
found
reached
out about you.
Right. I would have reached out to you because when I was going on his show, I had no idea that it was like the smoke show. Like, oh, you coming on there to like go
Right.
off on him. He came on to to my show that we were on, and he was like, hey, I want you to come on my show. He wanted me to come on his show because he didn't like what I had said about him in previous shows.
You was on
And
there
so
talking shit.
yeah, I was talking crap about Kevin Samuels, not knowing Kevin Samuels was gonna come on the
excuse me.
show. Right. He was gonna come on the show and confront me, like, you gonna come on my show since you talking crazy. So I came onto his show, and then people were like, you know what his show's about, right? Like today is about giving him smoke. Are you supposed to go on there and give him smoke? I'm like, oh, what? I thought he was like gonna be like interviewing me or asking me questions, and we were gonna go back and forth like a panel, like a regular panel.
Yeah, and the conversation was all like nice and kind and
I know,
like
I was really
respectful
kind.
of each other and all that other like weird
Kevin
crap
Samuels,
that nobody
so
was
nice.
looking for.
He was so nice to me. He was like, because
But that's how he is with a lot of women. I have watched a lot of his videos. He doesn't black out on everyone. You know, there are certain moments where he does. You cut him off once on his platform, yeah, he's gonna go nuts. I mean, that's what he does, and I kind of get it because I hate getting cut off too. So
I kind of cut him off one time, and he told me, he's like, wait, let me finish. Like he went in them, and I kind of.
And you do that here too, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, but that's not me taking a dig at you. I'm saying so now this is your platform, and it's hey, let me finish. This is my ish. So that's kind of how we are. But I do want to you had some questions earlier because I was actually out walking the dog and trying to listen to you at the same time. But you had some questions about, I guess, ratings, and you had some questions about overall like judgment, what qualifies these type of guys. You said something about women being judged about body types and changes and all of that good stuff. So what's one of your questions in regards to that? Ooh,
Yeah.
my face just blew up.
What did I say? Yeah, because I wanted to be more like, we're having a one-on-one conversation.
For sure.
What did I ask? I mean, give me the context. I didn't talk about so many points. Okay, so I said in the beginning, what did I say? Because I forgot. It was
something in reference to I guess women being judged a lot for their body types and I want to say you were questioning like why is that?
Yeah, I wanted to know why men tend to be super critical of women who have like for our natural like feminine things that happen just to women in general. Like for instance, once we have a baby, our body type changes, a lot of things change about us. We tend to be overly criticized about those things. And then there's just other things about women that tends like we're emotional, that tends to be overly criticized by men, especially in the manosphere space. And a lot of things that I think are natural to women, just like feminine qualities that women possess, men tend to only criticize that in the manosphere spaces. Am I wrong for that perception? I guess I'm wanting to know if I'm wrong for that perception, and why do you think that happens if I'm not wrong?
Yeah, it definitely doesn't happen in just the manosphere spaces. It happens, I mean, everywhere. We are all visual creatures. I'd hate to play the whole whataboutisms in the middle game right here, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it. We are all extremely visual, and we are all extremely critical of each other. we're all extremely critical of each other. So when it comes down to men criticizing women, if you will, I think it's more of just, we all do this when a woman walks by that looks super attractive. Somebody's gonna go, damn, she looks good, or she's got a fat, or whatever. That's just what we all do naturally. If y'all see a nice looking dude, you're gonna say, damn, he's this or he's that, or he's attractive, or whatever. We all beat up on body type. I mean, there's a, to offer a counter argument, men are judged pretty heavily on a couple of points, and those points are things that can't be changed. Your height. Yeah. So you hear that a lot. I'm not going to date a short man, a man that's 5'5" or 5'6". That man can't grow. You can lose weight, but he can't grow, right? Or how often do you hear, I'm going to get a little crass, but we're going to talk about it. How often do you hear women talk about dick size? Can't make his dick bigger. So if he got a small pecker, he just stuck with his small pecker, right?
That's true.
I mean, I hear all the time, the guy must have straight teeth. If he got a jacked up grill, he better get some braces.
That's right.
How about receding hairlines? We hear that a lot, and I am bald under here, by the way, and I will rock it. I just like my hats. But my point is, you hear that all the time too, right? This dude, his old receding hairline, ass, blah blah blah. Dad bod this and dad bod that, and I'm not trying to make this like a, you guys are overly critical on men. What I'm saying is, we are all critical on each other. We all have we have a picture in our minds of what our perfect mate is. We all have that. Now the reality is, we're not necessarily going to get that. But these harsh conversations are a way for us to say, if I want to increase my options or even my value in the dating marketplace, there's certain things that I may have to do. Maybe me as a guy, I need to dress a little better. I need to get a little cleaner. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a couple of things I can do to better represent myself. Maybe there's a certain type of cologne I need to wear, or whatever. When it comes to women, I'm not saying like some men. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
He said, it's like what I said, only low-grade men will criticize women based on the things they cannot control. This is what separates the elites from the commoners. It's really about pedigree.
So what
do you think? Men of low class and
they give credence or attention to these types of men. So I guess because I've always had a struggle with that too. I actually share Shay's opinion, but in relation to men, I don't like anyone criticizing anybody about shit. Yeah. Hey, listen. Yeah, that's true, right? It was like he came in and he called, but so as soon as he came in, he called bullets like, you wouldn't even expected all of that, and I'm just talking. So he felt that. That's right. But that's the truth of the matter, right? So I have a huge issue too with criticizing things that we can't change, right? I don't like. I hate hearing the notion I won't date such and such because I don't like dating light skinned men, or I don't like dating dark skinned men. I don't like dating light skinned women. I don't like dating dark skinned women. She can't change her skin tone, so I don't like that. But when it comes to weight and body type and all that other stuff, some things you can't change, some you can. We all eat too damn much, except for the few of us that don't. But we all eat too much. We all could probably stand to walk a couple of miles or get our asses in the gym. Yes or no?
Okay, that's true. Because Americans overall, they're overweight in comparison to other countries or other cities and their demographic of people. So it's not really just a Black woman or Black man thing. It's like an overall American thing, right? I mean, it may affect certain races or cultures other than over others. But for the most part, we're just all like historically like a little bit healthier than other cultures.
So if I criticize Black women, would it not be a fair assessment to say I'm criticizing Black women because all I care about is Black women? Would that not be a fair assessment?
No, because it's like that whole DV relationship where it's like, if I beat you, I love you type thing.
Oh, Lord.
Like a vicious circle of like craziness. Because I'm serious. It's like, I think we've been taught to kind of like, if I hit you and I beat you up, like in middle school, right? Like the boys who beat you up are the ones that supposedly like you.
Yeah,
And
but we all
so,
don't subscribe to that, right? We're
right,
talking about physical violence
well,
here.
not physical, but I mean, it's the same sense of the word.
Like if
Where
I
it's
pick
like,
on you or whatever.
if I pick on you and bully you, or if I really, really, really criticize you, it's because I'm invested in you. And I think that it's problematic to think that way, because I do think it tends to lead into those larger issues of like just this verbal abuse and this mentality that we should be criticizing individuals to lift them up.
So
I think that's not right. But go ahead. What is your perception of that?
So, well, I would say that it's so not to reduce your comparison, but, when we talk about that type of stuff, we're talking more so, children, high school, that type of, if I bully you, then I like you type of thing. But for you and I, who have a fully developed frontal lobe, right, we're doing it more from a, there's more context to why we're doing it. Now, I thoroughly agree with a lot of talking points that the approach could always be better. Yeah. Right. But, even if the approach isn't necessarily want to hear, are we mad because the criticism exists, or are we mad just because we're hearing it and we're talking about it? Right. Because the criticism is there. Mm-hmm. It's there. When you see a guy who's 5'4", maybe unattractive, and there are things about him that you don't like, when you see him, you might not criticize him out loud, but you're going to look at him and go, poor fella.
Yeah.
Are you not? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you that a lot of these talking points we haven't heard, right? Because before the manosphere existed, before that, like I didn't hear a lot of these criticisms and talking points that came from men. I didn't hear it. So I do think that one thing that it did do was bring to light these types of conversations and kind of bring women into the world of men. So there's value in knowing how men think, because what I do think about women is that we don't know the psychology of men at all, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think that men know the psychology of women. I think you guys know us so well, and you know how to get us, how to, like how to manipulate us, how to like sweet talk us, whatever we need from men know to do that to other women. But women, we rarely understand the psychology of men and what you guys think and what you think is important. And that stuff is very important for a woman to understand. You don't even have to think like a man, like Steve Harvey said, but you do need to understand how men think.
So what's complicated about men? Because I think I'm pretty, well, I'm kind of complex, but generally speaking, at the basis of it, at its root, I'm pretty simple. And I do agree with what Moments with Mickey Red said. You don't have to tear someone down to build somebody up. But there is also a such thing as rock bottom too, right? There are certain points. Hey, like let's not overshoot it here. Smart, she knows a thing or two. No, I'm just playing. Of course, Juan is intelligent. I wouldn't be up here if you were a dodo bird.
Thank you. Listen. Go ahead. That's a good question. What you said, like, what is so complicated about
what's
men?
Complicated?
A lot of times, women, we don't understand the signs of when a man is not truly invested, right? What a man does to prove that he's in like he's really committed to the situation.
Time, money, resources.
I think with women, we know, you guys know when a woman is like crazy head over heels for you, or some men know, right? Y'all know right away. Y'all know how women think. Y'all know what we want. Y'all know how to kind of like engage with our emotions. A lot of times women, we don't understand like when we've crossed that line, when a man is upset, how you communicate, why you communicate the way you communicate, all of those things that we should know, or things that we tend to ignore because we really focus on our psychology and how we process things. Because women, we are emotional, so we tend to think like, well, I do this because I love him, so he's doing this because he loves me, when we don't really understand the difference. And I think that that's part of our issue, is that we never really truly try to understand the psychology of men and why men are completely different in their thought process than we are, and not to compare our differences, or not to even compare the way we feel about something the way men feel about it. So a lot of women don't understand that. Even though men are simple and we think they're simple, you can case in point, a woman can really not underestimate how important sex is to a man and how important physical beauty and attributes are to a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in the manosphere, you guys, the guys, they completely 100% regurgitate how important it is to be visually attracted to their woman. And women, we think that that's not important. So for us, in our mindset, we're like, there's no way a real man would not think like that. But that is how.
Yeah, it's what it is a real man to just take me as I am. And to be fair, I don't necessarily disagree with that. When you meet a woman and she's bringing whatever it is visually to the table, I know people hate that term, but visually what she's bringing into the relationship, if you like what you see, then yes, you're going to take that as it is. I think I mean, so men are extremely competitive, and not that I'm trying to take my wife out to compete with other people, but it is a means of accomplishment when my wife comes out and she's just like killing it, like looking fire. My wife is 5 foot, 5'7", slim, brown skin, natural hair, and when she. Yeah. And she doesn't wear a ton of makeup. She doesn't do any of that. She just, does a couple of things to dress herself. And she will walk out and she will slay the fucking game. And I see guys looking at her and I go, yep. Look all you want to. That's just it's a good feeling. It's just a good feeling, So that's why we say stuff like, man, I don't want you out here rocking your bonnet. I don't, you got me out here looking crazy because you saw my wife out here at Walmart with a bonnet and some Yeezy slides on, and I can't have it, Yeah. But at the same time, we also represent each other too. So there's something that we owe to our women, where we represent ourselves in certain ways and carry ourselves in certain ways also in public spaces. Right. But the thing about it is, we're thinking about that always, men, us. At least, and I can speak for me, I am always thinking about image. I am always thinking about when I walk out of this door, it's not, I know it doesn't always matter what people think about you, but at the same time, I don't know who I'm going to run into and you don't know who you're going to run into. That could be somebody that is deciding my next promotion. Mm-hmm. Or something like that.
I think a lot of women get offended by those talking points because they really just didn't understand that men values that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Because when those talking points came out for me, I was kind of like, duh. Like, of course, you know what I mean? Like for me, I was like, of course men care about that. Of course they care about how you look physically. Because my whole life, I felt like that's what attracted men to me, is how I look physically.
Of course. And you're born with it. That's the other piece that we seem to keep forgetting or not paying attention to, is that most men have to build their value, whereas most women are born with their value.
Right.
I can go,
to men, their
value to men. Exactly. I want to be clear because everybody is valuable as a human. We are all valuable. Every life is precious. But when it comes down to value to men and when it comes down to the dating marketplace, you're born with your value right out the freaking gate. I mean, you can see a guy, women generally speaking, can see a guy working behind the McDonald's cashier and you'll probably say, damn, he looks good as hell, but I ain't gonna date him though. And that's not everybody. I'm not saying that's everybody. Some might pick up Marcus from behind behind the counter, but it's kind of unlikely. Now, me on the other hand, I might have a little bit of piece of change in my pocket and I can take care of the household. I'll take Tiffany from behind. I think somebody's name is actually Tiffany. That's why I said that, but I didn't mean to.
Tiffany.
but I'll take her from behind with the cashier or get her from the window in the drive-thru. I don't give a shit. I don't care how much. And that's why you
right. Mm-hmm. You don't care how much she's making. Men don't care how much.
No, not necessarily. And again, that's generally speaking. If we're talking about men who want to be valued members of society, That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the guys who mooch off of women. We're not talking about the guys who are sitting at home smoking weed and playing PlayStation and doing nothing and mooching off of women. We're not talking about those. In our space, we're talking about men who are pushing to be successful and establish a family and a legacy. That's who we're talking about. So if we keep the conversation focused around that, no, I don't care how much money you make. Your money to me is a bonus. If my wife is doing very well, she has a successful career. The more money she makes, it's more additive to the household, and I support her through and through. Whatever it is that she wants to do, she wants to come and be a millionaire one day. I've got her back. But if she wanted to quit today and never work again, we'd have to figure some things out. But we could make it happen. My income could supplement the vast majority of that. She might have to sell a car, but seriously, we would be able to.
Y'all gonna be good.
No, it's actually, we're almost, I know I was talking about this before, but we're almost debt free. So that's almost paid for. But generally, like in a general sense, you would have to make some life choices. You would have to say, okay, we're not going to pay for this or that, but I can take care of the household. Right. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care if you have a master's degree in clinical psychology and all that other shit. That's great. Get it for you if you feel like you need it. But it's not important to me.
You know what, though? I do want to talk about the psychology of Black men versus other men, right? Because other men, and we often don't compare Black men to other races of men. And I do think it's important to mention that other races of men value things like education. They value other qualities that Black men don't tend to care about.
In women?
Yeah, in women. Because see, Black men, you all tend to be focused, and even Kevin Samuels in his conversations in other manosphere spaces, they're focused on a lot of physical attributes, and white men, they want to know your family background. They want to know not necessarily that she doesn't have to be successful woman, but she can't be the gutter, right? Like her class matters to them, her education level matters to them. What genes is she going to pass down? Things like that. And so I don't know. I just question why Black men feel that that's not valuable, especially when you do have a ton of women in your culture or your ethnicity that is more educated than most other women in the world, and why we devalue something that is so important to other races of men. And let me tell you, I have watched so many other content where Black women are glorified for our access and education and our strides that we've made in education. And often in these manosphere spaces, we are criticized and ridiculed for some of the strides that we've made in education. And I always want to, talk to Black women and like let them understand that not all men think the way that some of these men think. And a lot of men actually think that is super, it's super important, and it's an accomplishment worth talking about when they hear Black women who have bachelor's degrees, who have access to, who are in higher education, master's degrees, PhDs, etc.
So where do we think that
we have higher graduation rates as far as high school than other races of women, but a lot of Black men, they don't really they tend to over criticize it or say that it's not important to her value.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, we're talking about not important in her value when it comes to the dating marketplace. And I think that's the biggest thing if we're talking about context. So if somebody was to ask me, hey, AJ, do you think that a woman with a doctorate is a huge accomplishment? Absolutely. Okay. Do you think
Glowcode's point is right, that she's seen other cultures where they're working with matchmakers and they have to submit a resume that details their education, because why other races of men, and the reason why I compare Black men to other races of men is because I do think it's important for Black men to be compared to other men. I don't like to compare Black men to other women because I don't believe that men and women should be compared. because our skill set and what we bring is just totally different. That's just my opinion. And so a lot of Black men, they overly criticize me for comparing them to other races of men. But I do think that it's important because that's what we're compared to. We're compared to other races of women.
Yeah, and for sure. I'm about to say there's a lot of shared criticism. So Black women are often compared to Spanish women, white women, Asian women, or whatever the case may be. And you'll often hear the trope that, you know, hey, a white woman's gonna make me a sandwich in the middle of the night. You ain't. You know what I mean? So fair point, right? Comparisons are totally fine. I think it's all about intent behind the comparison. You talked about how education, accomplishments and those things are devalued in the Black community, and I would yet again push back against that.
Okay.
It depends on the context.
Okay.
It's pushback. We are pushing back. We only reduce the value of it when we're talking about dating. That's it. So and what that means is I don't care if you have it, but if you have it, great. That's all that means. And then I can say based on my experience in the content that I've watched, the reason why the doctorate or the master's degree or that is so looked negatively upon is only in those conversations where they're talking about why is it that you're 45 and single with no kids? Well, because I was always taught that I need to be single and independent and pursue my career and pursue my degree and pursue all this other stuff. Now I'm 45 years old. I want to settle down and I want to start a family. You can't. And I mean, you can, but the likelihood is unless you're looking for nuclear family, unless you're looking for someone who already has children, or unless you want to participate in a high risk pregnancy, the reality is you kind of, this is going to be a harsh term, but wasted your life away chasing that career. Now, if your goal in life was to have a successful career and be financially stable, and that's really all you wanted, bravo. You know, I will applaud anybody for doing that. I will applaud any woman for being successful. As a matter of fact, I think it's amazing to see a successful Black woman in the professional space or in the corporate world. Absolutely. But if we're talking about dating, yeah, it's an additive, but it's not necessary. And honestly, to me, and I'll let you go here. Yeah. I honestly think that that's a win for you all because you don't have to fill out a resume. Okay. You don't have to say I have a doctor's degree and a legacy where, you know, my lineage ties back to the European, you know, regals, you know, or whatever. You don't have to have that. All you have to be is friendly, cooperative. I'm using the talking points, but friendly, cooperative, submissive, you know, that term. You know, I hate submissive, right? But that's the term. For me, friendly, cooperative, agreeable, you know, let's work and build something together. That's really all you need. How is that not a win?
Yes. So here's the thing. I think that for me, because I've been like just trying to study marriage statistics and analyze the data. And I've been seeing trends in like the Black community where the older we get, the more our marriage rates or the likelihood that we will be married, it actually increases, right? And so then a lot more of us are marrying later, like much later in life. And so, you know, there's a smaller percent of us that's not married, but it's like when we're 50 and when we're 40. And so I think that a lot of my point is that maybe when we're younger, we're not thinking about the things that really will sustain us and really are important. And education is, in my opinion, is very important because it's like if the wife is educated, remember, she's going to be primarily responsible for your children. So she's able to kind of teach your children. She's going to pass down that you know, that information to them. And so there is value in education. And I do think that it is devalued a lot. And I think that that's my point, is that I've seen that as we age and those trends to me are important because it shows that as women age, they do partner and they do find men that they are in successful relationships with, but maybe because they're accomplished or where they are in their careers, or because I think it's tied to economics 100%.
It's better for both of us.
It's better for both of us, right? Because we're both settled and we're both in a space. And I think
And you can't hold anything over anybody's head, because that is where we've grown to. You're making extremely valid points.
Yes.
That is where we've grown to. Yes. We have grown to where we want to be independent first and build our foundation first and then come together. Yes. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing, right? It's not bad, but I just don't think that should be for everyone, because it does stifle our overall ability to even procreate. If we're all waiting until we're 50 years old to come together and get married, I mean, we're going to fucking die off,
because you can't even procreate at that age, right?
Exactly. And that's the thing. And even when it comes to careers, yes, of course, it's better if your woman is educated in being able to take care of the children. Maybe she's educated in, economics or, whatever, to just help with raising the family. And you notice I said help, meaning we raise the family together, not just her by herself. But it's also her understanding that if this is what you want to go after, if you're trying to pursue a family, if you're trying to pursue being child rear, and you also want a college degree and a successful career, do you, boo? If that's what you want to go after. But don't resent me. Do not resent me for it, is all I'm saying.
So a brother with a certain age, he said, wait, so black women don't make sandwiches? He was talking about your comment in the night. He said, I think people say those things for reaction purposes. When two people connect, there's not much that they won't do for each other. That's a great point.
So that's very rainbows and butterflies, my friend. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I kind of do. We just had a whole internet argument over making a man a damn plate. Okay. And it was everywhere. It was during the Thanksgiving time. And if you ain't seen it, you were living under a freaking rock, so I do think there's definitely this weird atmosphere about, go fix your own motherfucking sandwich. You know what I'm saying? That kind of does exist. So
I am very much, and a lot of people don't know, like, I'm very much the woman who's gonna go make my man a sandwich, right?
My wife does. I'm telling you,
and I think that a lot of black women, we get a lot of slack, that they don't understand how much we will in fact cater to our men and do things like that. And I, to a certain degree, agree with a brother of a certain age, because I do feel that when you love someone and you feel a certain way about them, that you will, like men who overly push the whole idea of submission, right? I know.
Sorry, that Tiffany's comment is hilarious.
And I actually want to talk about black women make plates
just like black men don't cheat. So there you go. Black women don't make plates and black men cheat.
Exactly. Okay, but here's the thing.
Although I've never cheated on anybody. Facts, no cap.
Good.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah. I love. See, that's why me and you connect, because you're just such a good person, AJ. Let me say this about
I'm kind of a shitty person, though. It depends.
You're not a shitty person.
I can be.
You have normal emotions where you can, like, go off if you need to go off, where if somebody violates you, you gonna let them know who you are. But at the same time, that's what makes a good person a good person. We have buttons to push. We're not gonna just go off on nobody for no reason. You have to push our buttons to get us to this place where now I'm acting out of character, because my normal character is to be open to a discussion, to hear both sides, and to do like, that's my natural character. I want to hear your side. But if I feel defensive, or I feel that I'm in a position where I'm, I need to protect myself, that's what I'm going to do as well.
You should.
And I'll shape that.
For me, I kill that bullshit every time somebody says, "Oh, women are emotional and men aren't." Yes, you are. If I see you in these YouTube streets screaming at women back and forth, or two guys going back and forth at it, talking trash to each other and wanting to fly to somebody's house and say, "Yeah, I'm gonna fly up there to New York and find out where you at," that is legit emotion. Like, is to its core, it's emotion. All of it is. Let me. My stoicism right now is an emotion.
Yeah, Exactly. It is an emotion. And so when they try to normalize certain behaviors and put it toward energy and kind of discredit you at being a man if you're emotional, I think it's really ridiculous because men do have emotion. Maybe you express it differently, but you guys do
It's
have
how you
emotion.
express it. Yeah, you
Yeah,
just hit
it's how
it.
you
Nail on
yeah.
the head. You took
Yeah.
that right off the top of my brain.
Hey, information man. I wanted
Info
to
man.
How you doing? Welcome. I wanted to talk to you also about that one point that Kevin Samuels made where he kind of ranked Nicki Minaj as a 9. Tiffany made
Did
that
he
point.
say a 9?
Yes, Tiffany actually made that point. I didn't play that part of the video.
She's not. Yeah, she's not a 9.
But Tiffany did she said, I think Kevin Samuels took it easy on Nicki, and he usually goes hard on the rankings,
Of course
right?
he did.
And
Come on, man.
she herself ranked herself as a 7, and you know how he feels about 7s,
Don't
right?
use
Because
7. So
he
in all
doesn't like
actuality,
to
she's a
use
6.
7s. Yes, and so she said, "I'm a 7," and he said, "Hey, you know, I'd give you a little higher than that, Nikki, actually." And he was like,
Oh, did he?
"I'd give
I
you a
missed
9."
that part.
He said, "I'd give you a 9," and she was like,
Bugging.
"Oh." She was like, "Oh," like she was even shocked that he gave her a 9 because she felt like,
Come
yeah.
on, you are. Everybody knows it's a game. Those of us with a fully developed frontal lobe know,
So
right?
what do you think about him ranking her as a 9? What do you
Here's a 9. I mean, I think it's bullshit. I think I know why he did it. Smart man. You know, she has a humongous following, and the last thing he wants is a viral moment. Part of me thinks he doesn't care, but then the other part of me is like, what's more beneficial to me? If I rank Nicki as 6 and call her average at best right now, the chances of me going on her podcast to grow further might ruin that business opportunity. But if I put her up there as a 9, I mean, she's had plastic surgery and the whole gambit, you know. If I walk past her on the street, the one pre-fame, I'm not saying I wouldn't look twice. I wouldn't look twice. I would just say, hey, you know, she's cute.
Well, he referenced her symmetry and then her eyes, and he said that that's why he would give her a higher ranking.
I've seen some unattractive people that are symmetrical. So
you know,
I mean,
I do question the universal beauty standards because Kevin Samuels always says that it's not about race, but it is absolutely based on European beauty standards. And I don't know. He says it's about symmetry, and I don't agree with that. What do you say?
I don't either
agree with that.
because depending on, okay, so I'll pick on the Asian culture. Typically really thin lips, you know, eye structure is a certain particular way, but they could be symmetrical, but I'm not necessarily attracted to those features.
That's right.
So, you know, it's just a talking point. It's something to it is an axiom to apply context to. I'm going to tie symmetry here. And then I'm going to say, okay, because you're symmetrical, I can pull all these points to it and say, okay, yeah, you're a 9. No, I mean, and look, maybe to some people, Nicki Minaj is a 10 to them, you know, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can look at Nicki Minaj and say she's a 10 all day. Do you? That's totally fine. You know, that's subjective. Yeah. Like, I mean, yes, there is a general acceptance of who's beautiful and who's not because we got modeling and all this other stuff. Men and women, right? Men and women. There are the Morris Chestnuts and Boris Kojos and Idris Albas of the world. I'm no Boris, and I'm totally okay that I'm not a Boris Cujo, okay? It's all good. Right. I'm good with that. But I'm not losing out in these streets either. I'm all right.
I agree. I mean, I think that, and I wanted to talk about the Whoopi Goldberg incident later.
Slanted eyes,
that issue. But okay. I want to talk about that next. But I want to say that I think that overall, Nicki's saying to Black women that why are we validating these men, these dating coaches that really just use us to exploit us? And I think that Kevin Samuels was very honest about how he really got his start to be popularized. He said that it wasn't until his show, because Kevin Samuels have been doing this for a long time, but it wasn't until he had that show where he talked about that veterinarian, the woman who owned like a grooming salon.
She owned her own business.
She owned her own business. It's not until then. And hey, information man, welcome so much.
Hey, what's up, AJ? Much respect to you, brother. Hey, much respect to you. I like a lot of things that you're saying. I'm not going to stay up long. I just wanted to make mention about Kevin Samuels. Let me just give you a little background. I had a chance because I used to be on this thing called the Rumble on Sundays on O'Shea, Duke Jackson. I know all these guys, and I used to be on there. You're familiar with that too, brother. So I used to be on the Sunday on the Rumble, and we used to go at it. Everybody would get together on Sundays, and brothers would go at it on all types of subject matters. And Kevin Samuels would come on the panels. I've been on panels with him before, and I kind of seen how he rose up. Before, when you look at his channel in the past, you know, he was doing the perfume reviews, he was doing the clothing, you know, and he did a great job when he did those kind of videos. Very well done, right? So he kind of just built himself up, and then he got himself attached to the manosphere when he came on the O'Shea Duke Jackson show, and O'Shea introduced him to the manosphere. That's kind of how he got his come up. As well, he's very well connected with. He was very well connected with people like Angry Man and BGS and some of these very prominent members of the manosphere. And so I remember him being on BGS channel many late nights when he would have these 8-hour streams talking about various issues that men deal with, right?
Right.
And then I used to watch his show before he got to where he is now. I used to watch his show before when he had 100 people watching, you know, 200, what have you, which is still great in my opinion.
It's a good number
to have that kind of following, and he was just giving, you know, manly type of advice, and a lot of things he was saying, I kind of agreed with it. And then he has basically studied the manosphere very well. He has used the talking points of other men within the manosphere. And the difference between him and them is that he's been able to market it, blow himself up, because as Kevin Samuels got bigger and more well known, you have smaller brothers in the manosphere who kind of feel like, well, wait a minute, he's using the shit that we've been talking about. But the thing is, he figured it out. He figured out that you need the cameras, you need the lighting, you need the candles. A lot of people look at what he does and say, oh, that's kind of soft what he's doing. You don't get marketing. He keeps telling you he's an image consultant.
Right.
So everything about his show is based on image. He's trying to attract women who are his biggest audience or those that call in. He was smart. He used the candles. He's wearing the suits. He's turned his show into something that you would see on television. The way he kind of has it aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And I think a lot of brothers, they fell short because they didn't figure out the game. The game is get your game right. Get your microphone right. Get your lighting right. Get your style right.
Over everything. I'm sorry. I don't want not to cut you off, Info Man.
No, man.
Good God. Every time I watch these damn panels and the echo happens, like just put some headphones on and the echo won't happen, right? Or the beeping of the damn smoke alarm in the back. If you beeping, anyway, get the sound right. I don't even care.
But a mic stops that too, right? The mic.
What? Well, it depends if you have a noise gate and compression. There's a lot that goes into it. Like right now I'm running this microphone through NVIDIA Broadcast, and I could run a vacuum and you wouldn't be able to hear it. Right. But that's what I mean, look, Info Man, right now I'm just looking at his picture, but his mic sounds fucking phenomenal. So I don't care. Right. I don't need to see you. His mic sounds great. But anyways, I digress.
No, brother.
Information, man, I wanted to say that in the beginning, I talked about how he's an image consultant. And I don't know if you know this, but I was on his show last year or maybe a year ago.
Yes.
And he told me that was his primary purpose. He said, listen, I'm an image consultant. I work on the exterior and the image of men. And I think what men often forget is that there are other things that you still need to work on as far as your character and other things that really he's giving you an exterior position. He's telling you, hey, this is what you need to do to kind of present yourself in a way that makes you, appear to be whatever this is. But there's still things that you need to work toward in order to get to those places really in life. I think people miss that part of his message, and they just really think because they put on the suit and the tie or they clean up their act that they really will present themselves to be whatever it is that he wants them to represent. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, I've just had a chance to sit back and see his progression, and I understand why he blew up the way he did. Now, I may not agree personally with some of his methodology in terms of how he blew up, because it came at the expense, I got to be honest, it came at the expense of a black woman who he sort of said some things. She kind of looked bad. It kind of made her look bad. And then it got put on Wild Star, or somebody paid
World
to put
Star.
it on World Star. And he kind of blew up off the back
Of black women.
of a black woman,
Absolutely.
which resonated with brothers in the manosphere who sort of have these who have these positions that, you know, black women have these problems that we do not like about black women. And so when Kevin Samuels talks about it, what he did, because you hear brothers on YouTube who talk like Kevin Samuels, but what he did is he's more polished.
Absolutely.
He's not coming at you with us. He's got a polished image. He can be tough with his words, but I think it goes down. It's more digestible for people to deal with it. Why? Because he's got
of
his
the
image
aesthetics.
together. If you had some raggedy dude talking to you on YouTube, Tawana, and sisters in the chat room, he raggedy, he tore up, teeth out of his mouth, and he talking like that, you ain't gonna take him serious.
You're not gonna, because we're visual. This is what we were talking about early. Everybody is visual.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
You know
So-
what? You know what else though that I think you guys aren't touching on is that he have these real life examples of women who really call in to show that they really do have these expectations of men that reinforce the idea. So because he has the image thing and he is a handsome man, or he presents as a handsome man that's very clean cut, he also does have these women who really does reinforce these ideas
The
that
talking
men
points.
have. And
Yep.
he really found a way to kind of bring that into the show and really not just talk about it, but show how these women really do have these ideologies. Don't you think that also helped?
Well, I think part of this is the way I look at it. Women who are confident, know who they are, and in some cases have had a real male in their life, such as a father figure or a father, and they've grown up knowing what a man is and having these sort of set ideas. I don't think those are the women that are calling Kevin Samuels. I think those women are probably sitting back and are being amused by what they're seeing and hearing. I think the women who call his show are women who definitely have some issues, because if you are a woman that's on your square, you really wouldn't technically need Kevin Samuels' advice, because you've already learned that from the men in your family, your father, uncles, whoever, right? So you wouldn't need Kevin Samuels to tell you something that you've already have lived experience with, right? I think there's a lot of women out there who have lacked that, and so they'll gravitate towards Kevin Samuels. And I'm going to be honest with you, Kevin Samuels, what I think when I examine him, he gives off this fathery quality, which I think is why the women are calling him, because he is almost talking to them, whether you agree with how he talks to women or not, but it's almost like he's the father that they did not have or wish they had to really give them a hard pill lesson. Now,
Exactly.
that's what I got to say about him positively, but this is where I have the negative on him. And I know where he's coming from because I've been on panels with him before. I know I've seen his hustle and how he's come up. The problem I have with Kevin Samuels, if there's any, is that when he makes statements about the beauty of black women, and he used scientific Eurocentric ideology of beauty standards, and I think the thing about the symmetry of the face and all that came from some Chinese or some Asian guy that was a scientist or whatever. And you cannot use other race of men or other race of other people to judge your women by their beauty standard. They're using a European or an Asian standard of beauty. Black women don't have those type of features. So how can you use that as your blueprint to judge what black women are? You just can't do that. That's not proper. It's not, doesn't make any sense.
They call it universal beauty standards, but really that's based on it's based on a European beauty standard.
Right. But I understand why Kevin Samuels does that, because he's an image consultant, and like many of us that have gone to school, You are trained in Eurocentric way of thinking. For example, when I was in
The
college,
fashion industry.
right, when I was in college, I took psychology courses and all these sort of things to get to where I am today. Well, guess what? Most of what you learn in psychology, most of the people that you're learning about are white men like Freud and all these kind of individuals. So now you're learning psychology from a European ideology. Then when I was in school and I took a course on black psychology, and I learned different aspects that was more relatable to my culture. So when Kevin Samuels is talking like this, you got to look at where he's getting it from. And you have to understand that what he's using is a standard of stereotypes that's been used on black people and black women, going back to how they talk about our noses and our eyes and our lips and all of that. But yet, check this out. When they would make fun of us back in the day, now all of a sudden everybody wants to get a big booty. Everybody
lip
wants
injections.
lips. Everybody wants to look like a black woman, but they don't want to be a black woman.
Of course.
Can I ask you guys this? Because Lucky Marie asked a very valid question. She said, you don't like that he uses his image consulting expertise to judge women. Can you guys speak to that?
Well, the only problem I have with it is that what standard of beauty is he's using? Even if he's a trained image consultant, if you're still using imagery that comes from Europeans, and given the history that anything that's black features has always been seen as a negative, and that's the training that he's getting,
right?
Then that's what he's reflecting. I have a problem with that part of it.
Yeah, so I'm in thorough agreement. So when it comes, and even when it comes to image consulting, people don't typically, and I am generalizing. No, I don't have data. It's just all anecdotal here, right? But people don't really go to an image consultant to say, "Hey, can I change my face?" That's not what really that I know image consulting to be. It's how do I change my overall image in that what type of clothes should I wear? What type of, like he does the cologne and the fragrances and type of stuff. What's the most appropriate thing? How should I conduct myself in certain social events? That's what image consulting really is. It also nowadays goes into your social media presence. What does your Facebook and your Instagram look like and all that other stuff? It never dives down these paths about is your face symmetrical or not. You can't change that. We talked about this earlier, information man, where I was saying that one of my hugest, my biggest pet peeves is when anybody is judged based on things they cannot change. I was pushing back with Juana a little bit earlier on. I was saying, do we not all do this to each other? We were talking about how black women are judged based on certain body archetypes and stuff like that, right? Yeah. I said the same thing about men. I said, how many times have we heard nobody wants to date a man that's 5'4"? Or if he has a small, what, right? You can't change that, right? So we all do that, and people get judged based on things they can't change. Where I am okay with is things that we can change. Hey, you dress kind of bummy, or I'm not really drawn to the fact that you might be a bit overweight, or maybe you're too skinny, or whatever the case may be. Like, if we can change, if these are things we can get out and change, I'm good with. But don't talk about facial structures, because that tends to get on my nerves.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to answer a question from one of your viewers.
Yeah, I want you to answer it. Who is it? The shade? Is it the shade question? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to say it goes back to what I just said to Tawana a few minutes ago. There's something about Kevin Samuels where he gives off these father qualities, and I think it attracts women who always wanted a father to tell them these lessons that he gives out about being a woman and what attracts men and what have you. I think these are women that are looking to understand what black men are looking for. They're looking to understand themselves in relationships. And I think it's a void that's missing that they may not have had in their life. And these are women who just need a dose of reality. And that's what he gives them. And they're attracted to that, whether it be good or bad. But let me say this before I get off to one, and I think this is very important, especially going into Kevin Samuels talking about, Asians are this way, and that's the perfect look, and this cinematic type face or cinematic type face. This is the truth. I'm giving you pure truth. as a black man, and I know that other black men will probably agree with me or will be in denial of it. When black men usually date outside their race, believe it or not, we are attracted to similarities in features and
The same
body
features.
shape
Yes.
that we like in black women. So
Absolutely.
if black men, I'm gonna be honest with you. Now I'm breaking the mold
Absolutely.
here. When black men even mess with white women, we usually like white women who have big butts.
Yes.
All the things are similar to black women. When we go with
Absolutely.
Latinas, we usually like them a little brown, big butt. So the thing is, we have been, this is the truth. I don't care. This is the truth. Black men have been imprinted by black women to the point that even when we think we're getting something better outside our race, we still tend to be attracted to something that's similar to a black woman, even though it ain't a black woman. Now, most guys are not going to admit that, but I've seen it in my own life. It's true.
Yes, it is.
Usually, if I see a woman of another race and I find her attractive, she usually has some type of quality or energy or feature about her that's
That come
similar
from a
to a black woman.
Yeah.
Which tells me that's really what I want. So why not get the real McCoy?
Information man, before you leave though, I want you to answer Lucky Marie's question because I think it's a very valid question. Is there a such thing as like African beauty standards, right? Because we do have this whole European beauty standards and this universal symmetrical facial features and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a such thing as African beauty standards? Because I do think so. But what do you say?
I think that there is African beauty standards. If we were to go to the continent right now,
The continent.
the men
Yeah,
over
you just hit it.
the men in the continent of Africa, the continent itself, because it's made of many countries, they tend to like women that are more fuller built. The women are built more voluptuous, and the men like that. I'm not going to lie to you. I do tend to like black women who have a more voluptuous built to their body. Very, very, very curvy. And I think that's what we're attracted to culturally. So by default, that becomes our beauty standard. We do like full lips. We do like wide hips on our women. Even brothers that are in denial of that. That becomes our standard. What happens to us as black men, I got to just keep it real with you. Let's go psychology here. We grow up in a world where we've been taught that white is right. That's the right standard. We look at television, we look at billboards, and so we grow up. Sometimes some brothers will grow up and they will experiment and get them a white girl because you've been growing up being told that this is taboo. You don't touch that. You don't mess with the white girls, right? Or you grew up and you would hear your mother in the house say, "Don't you bring no white girl up in here." Right? My mom said that to me. "Don't you bring nothing white up in here."
Yeah, my mother said the same thing.
Don't you bring nothing, right? And so as humans, we always like to explore that which has been told to us to be taboo. So I think sometimes brothers experiment and get with white girls, end up liking it and continue that way of life. Or some brothers try it out and say, "Yeah, it ain't really for me," right? Or it is for me. But I think there are brothers that are stone-cold focused on white girls is because they brought into the cultural conditioning that white is right, white standard of beauty is the way to go, black is wrong. And so you chase after that. And then there are some brothers who feel that if they get a white woman on their arm, that's a status symbol to get them to another place. Because unfortunately, some brothers see being with a black woman sometimes as a form of struggle because you watched your mother struggle, especially if you're you were a single kid. You grew up watching your mother struggle. So you begin to project black women as part of struggle and you don't want to be associated with that struggle anymore. That's on the psychological level.
Absolutely.
And even black women who don't want to deal with black men, you see black men as problematic as a struggle as well.
Yep. You mentioned what it is that we've been taught, and I was going to bring up the point a while ago. Saved by the Bell was one of my favorite TV shows. Kelly Kapowski was propped up as the most pretty girl on the show, but I was swooning over Lisa Turtle. That's who I was looking at. But everybody else, she was the one propped up as the primary love interest and the most quote unquote attractive one in the group. But that's Western culture. That is, and it is especially Western culture in the U.S. we are assimilated here. We don't make up a minority. So you're absolutely right. It is about what we have seen.
Yeah.
As a child, I wanted to be Zach Morris because I didn't know anything better. I didn't have an example of a black male. I damn sure didn't want to be Steve Urkel, you know, maybe Stefan, but not Urkel, you know, but you get the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you, Info.
But
the women, like to Shay's point, Kim Kardashian, she's a perfect example of just plumping up your lips and getting.
And she's Armenian, right?
Get a bigger booty, you know, to present to the black man, because black men, like you said, like those African features or things that are specific to black women, and it's almost more desirable when it's a woman of no color because it's something that you have been forbidden to even engage with, right? And you have access to when you get to a certain level, and some men just have access because, right? And
so that answers the question then.
Yeah.
That answers the question. What are the African beauty standards? We literally just answered them.
We just answered it.
Right.
That's what they are. It's what everybody else wants.
Right. Those beauty standards are being imitated by other women. I got to say this to black women. I got to keep it real with you. I think over a period of time, black men overall have become more and more desirable in this society. Don't think we have not. And as a result, you have other race of women that are getting up in the gym. They're getting their bodies a certain way. Because it goes back to what you said about Kim Kardashian. They're trying to attract black men, as we are seen as, we may not be the most richest, we may not have the most money overall.
Right.
But you said something that was one night, Tawana, that I had to just kind of examine what you were saying and was saying, oh man, what is she saying? But then I had to examine it. We are seen for our sex.
That's right.
I got to be honest, brothers. A lot of women do see us as this candy store that they can play with. And then because other race of women will mess around with black men and then they'll get married to the man in their family because they can't take your black ass home to their family, but they'll have a good time with you. You see this in college. I used to see this all the time when I was in college. You get these white girls that would be having their little black fantasy, but they couldn't take your ass home.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm so happy. Truth. I'm so happy that you mentioned that information, man, because that particular show, a lot of black men thought that I hated black men.
You
and
don't?
I'm like, don't know. Listen, I can't wait to do that show. I can't wait to do that show, AJ, so you could ask me some questions. But what's so interesting is nobody loves you more than me, because I'm telling you that you are not limited to your sexual performance, or I'm not calling you a sexual deviant. And a lot of scientific studies have been done on black men that shows that you guys are a little bit more well endowed than other cultures. So that's a scientific fact that has been proven and studied over time. So we know that that is true, right? That black men tend to be larger than other cultures. And so a lot of women look at you guys as a sexual pleasure thing, and women of other races have used you for that in the past. And so I was really just letting black men know that I see you more value in you than just you leading your manhood with sex. I think that you guys could compete with other cultures and of men. And I think that you could do it. And I think that you could be successful at it. I think you all could dominate. And I think that people lost that in my message, right? They got so tied up in what I said that they didn't hear the overall theme. I think that women who tell you that you're only limited to your sexual performance and that that's how you qualify is the women who truly don't like you. That's my opinion. Those are the women who truly don't value you. And so I was really just wanting people to understand that is how some black men are seen and or valued in other cultures. And I don't think that that's okay to look at anyone based on their sexual performance and assign value to them based on that. So that was my perception of that. I'm glad you mentioned it. I'm going to do a show called Tawana Hates Black Men, which really I don't, but I want to bring up some of my talking points and really like get into it. and let AJ go back and forth with me about some of the things that I said, so people can really get an idea about what I meant, and I can clarify some of those things for Black men.
Well, you know, I think there are some Black men who embrace being a sexual object. They sort of brag about it. But I would be honest with you. I would rather, as a man, be known more than just for sexuality, just as there are women who don't want to be known just for their sexuality. I think Black men, we are a lot more than just that. But however, society paints us as just that. The thing that I've never appreciated is that when it comes to Black love, you've never really seen it displayed on the screen properly. They would always make our love making animalistic. But when I was a kid, I'm going to take you back with this one, and I saw Superfly in the theater. There was a scene where Ron O'Neal was in the bathtub with his woman. I got to be honest with you. I thought it was very sensual. Wasn't overly raunchy, you know. And what would make that movie that scene powerful, because you didn't see a lot of scenes with Black men making love to Black women in a sensual way. It was always raunchy. So keep that in mind, how they display our sexuality in movies and television.
That's right.
They make it animalistic. They make us only sex crazed. They sexualize Black women. This is the reason why I don't like the stuff that Lizzie or whatever her name was doing. Lizzo at the ball game, because she went to the ball game and she was twerking like she was doing.
Hated it.
Tawana, I want you to go back and do some research. What she reminded me of is that a long time ago, in the early 1900s, there was a torso or body of an African woman that went around to different museums in England and the UK. And people were amused by the large size of this Black woman's body. And what they did is they sort of stuffed, they sort of made it like a exhibit where they had the buttocks and the legs. I'm serious. And they were displaying this throughout Europe. And you had white men looking, examining the booty, being very taken by it. It was very like Frankenstein, because it was her body parts. And they particularly accentuated the butts, right? So when Lizzo was doing this sort of stuff, when I see Black women doing this sort of stuff, we fail to understand sometimes that that's akin to the past of how they saw Black women as just body parts.
That's right.
I got to go, everybody, but thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you jumping in, brother.
Peace, brother.
Yes,
Keep telling the truth. Peace.
Yes, sir. You too.
So, a lot information, man. Go subscribe to his channel if you have not already. I study his content, and he talks about cultural conditioning a lot in his content. So if you guys go and watch him, he really does mention that. And some of what he's talking about, or what he just mentioned, just about how they glorify certain body parts, or how they present us as animalistic in movies, and they make us look like we're just like these savages that just like are sexual deviants or whatever. It's a lot of it is cultural conditioning. And so we tend as Black people to even look at each other in that way, and to value each other in a sexual way, and to judge each other off of our sexual performance. And then sometimes, as Black women, we tend to qualify men based on their sexual performance and or their attributes. I don't want to say it.
Nobody ever wants a BDR, was just called a bad D report.
Yeah, y'all don't. And then men really feel like, oh my God. And Freezy, oh my God, Freezy, you have a great point. He said,
Monsters Ball.
And Monster Ball, Lord. Yes. And then she won an Oscar for that.
She sure did. And that was the most cringy movie I had ever seen.
Freezy, you hit that on the head. Oh my God. I want you guys to really think about how we're presented in certain movies. And even people talk about Tyler Perry movies and how they're so dope. Sometimes some people criticize them too. But even in his movies, he tends to represent Black women in a certain way. And Black women really pay attention to how we're represented on those shows. And that is cultural conditioning. It's really like, oh, we all think it's funny and we think it's like, oh yeah, this is just how Black women are. But it's really making people setting a standard or perception about how we are, what we do. Black men as well, just even if you present Black men as overly aggressive or really mild mannered or really like I don't know, less masculine than other men, sometimes I feel like he puts them in a very low role.
Tyler Perry? You said Tyler Perry? I hate his movies.
Sometimes he puts Black men in like a less dominant role, and they look
what I hate about
control
Tyler Perry movie. What I hate about Tyler Perry movie, he does do that, and so what he does is he say, if you look at a few of them, it's the successful businessman is the abuser, and she has to be saved by the mail truck driver with the bad wig. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I read this in the chat. I'm not quite sure where those comments are coming from because none of us were.
And no other group of men get told not to date outside of their race, but Black men. Don't listen to this chick. She wants Black women to be with white men whores and Black men.
That's a good one.
He's calling me a chick.
I guess.
Whoever this data collector is, if you want to come on and actually explain your point, I'm open to it. Please look at the link and come on in, because what you don't get to do is come in here and say this like troll statement and then don't support it. So come in here and actually tell me what you mean by that, because that is absolutely false.
Well, it's not to cut you off, Tawana, but I just want to make a point that that wasn't even part of the discussion. So it's definitely a troll.
He's a troll.
Yeah. We weren't talking at all about
without a real
not dating outside of the race. Like nobody told in this entire discussion, hey, Black men don't date white women or whatever. Yeah. So
like there's whole cases.
So yeah. He's really just copying a bunch of paragraphs. So I really wouldn't. Yeah.
He can come on and defend his case, because I'm not going to read your comments anymore. If you want to come on, I am more than welcome to have you come on and talk to me about whatever.
That cornrow wig was so bad, man. Why did they put Shamar in that terrible ass wig, yo? That shit was so trash. Weird. That shit was so trash. But anyway, going back to the point about those movies, that's the thing that it's the successful Black man was the abuser. You had I forget the brown skin bald brother. It was him with, when he got paralyzed and the old girl got her revenge. I did like that part. Right. And then the other one with Blair Underwood, where he was beating on that light skinned woman, and they were both successful, probably millionaires. And they both had to be saved by either a mail truck driver or I forget what the other cat was.
Who was like he didn't have natural masculine qualities either, right?
Neither one of them did.
He always presents the Black man, who's the good Black man, as this man who's less masculine than other men, and
it was weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Why? Maybe I do. I just think it's a bad notion. I used to talk trash about Tyler Perry movies all the time, constantly, about how that was. I'm like, why is it that the successful Black guy always has to be the woman beater? Like, I hated that.
Or that one movie where she was with a really good man who was like I said, he was less masculine. He was really empathetic and understanding. And then she got with the crazy, wild alpha male who was kind of a tech executive. He made a lot of money. He created this. I think he was like similar to like a Facebook creator.
I think I remember something.
But he had AIDS, or he had HIV that she eventually caught.
Just like For Color Girls.
Right, yeah.
Holy shit, that movie.
Right. Like he's doing
and there were women were like, oh my God, that was the most amazing movie ever. I'm like, if you don't get out of here with that whole entire movie, dropping the baby out the window.
I think we gotta pay attention to that cultural conditioning. And a lot of us, we don't pay attention to it because
let me go get my CDL.
I think we think that it's innocent, and that it's like, oh, it is how Black people are, and like they think it represents us in our culture, but really it's really conditioning us to think a certain way about Black men and think a certain way about Black women.
Ooh,
And so Lucky
what was
said
the,
we're
what's
crazy.
the oh my God,
Lucky, tell us why
waiting to
we're
exhale.
crazy. Tell us
I'm
why
not crazy.
Tell us why we're
Wait,
crazy.
waiting to exhale. I'm sorry. That's all. That's another example. Successful Black men who didn't he cheat with a white lady and she burnt the clothes in the car.
He left her for a white woman. I mean, listen, does that happen? I don't know, but he did leave her for a white woman, and then he had been married to her for a long time, and she appeared to me to be somewhat of a submissive woman to him, right? She was at home with the kids. She didn't work. He was kind of the
Who, Angela? Yeah, Angela Bassett. Oh yeah.
And he still left her in that example, right? He still left her for a white woman because, like, you know, that was his preference and that's what he wanted. So it's just all this conditioning that's happening.
Yeah, because people grew to believe that that's the norm. No, it's not. I mean, it may have happened. I'm sure it has happened, but that is not the norm, you know. But we've been programmed to think that that's the norm. So
a brother of a certain age said, yeah, I agree. We are much more diverse than the images, but we do support the movies that show us in a different roles. But do we support the movies that show us in different roles, or do we go to the ones that show us in the stereotypical roles, right? In these roles, you're right. You're right.
I think we do. He is right, but I do think we do.
Where we do support, and I want to bring Lucky on because Lucky was like,
Lucky, I don't want the smoke. I don't want the smoke, Lucky.
I want the smoke. Come on, Lucky. I want the smoke today. Hey,
I'm at
Lucky.
work, so.
Hi, beautiful. You at work?
Yeah, but girl,
go ahead.
Y'all not about to bash Tyler Perry.
Go ahead.
Because we're not going to act like he does not talk about things that actually do happen. So it's just like Precious. People hated Precious, thought it was extreme. But I can name so many Black households that have gone through that. So it's just like, is he depicting Black men in a bad light? Yes. But are there a statistic of Black men out there? Like, for example, there are a lot of organizations and groups of women who talk about how they have contracted HIV and AIDS in situations where they were monogamous and their husband stepped out and brought them back something from another man. That happens more times than you think. It's just we don't talk about it. So, I mean, I get it, but
agree with that point. So in Precious, though, are you talking about how her father abused her? That's very more common.
Definitely. And you know what? I have a family member, and I wish I can expose him more. He has done that to his own daughter, got her pregnant on drugs. Like, they do that, and we don't talk about it because we're from a generation that says what goes on in this house stays in this house. Yeah. So you have an artist who cares to reach out to people in different groups and maybe exaggerate a little bit to bring some entertainment, but have things play out that aren't really talked about. And the first thing we see, we don't try to acknowledge it, just like there's so many Black men who have been molested by someone as a child. We don't talk about that. Sorry if you can't say the word.
Yeah, Antoine Fisher is a good example. That's a great movie. So, and that actually answers the question of certain movies. We do support those movies, the Denzel Washington style movies and all that kind of paint us in a more decent role. But I think what it comes down to, Lucky, is, and I'm not disagreeing with your points. It's just so the overall representation of Black men in media, period, about being the gangster, the thug, and all that other stuff. It just is what it is. It is a tough pill to swallow to see, okay, now I have a successful Black man. I have a Black man millionaire with a big mansion and a nice cars, but he's also a woman beater, you know, so it gets to those. And the problem is I am completely okay with having the conversation. I want to have the conversation. I think everybody needs to do so. I just don't enjoy when that conversation is the center of the image of Black men. That's my main thing. It becomes now I'm going to adopt this narrative. This is what the Black man is.
I mean,
you know,
well, that's
and that might be extreme. It's general, but yeah, go ahead.
Eddie Murphy did a lot of roles that did not depict Black men in bad lights.
It does. Yeah,
so, I mean, I think it just depends. Like, with the gangster type roles, unfortunately, because most of us come from the ghettos. we know it so well. But there are other areas. I was just talking to someone the other day, and a couple people the other day, and I was talking about they hate the show You, and I think it was Daryl. Yeah, he hates the show You.
That show's
And
great. I love that show.
I love
I
that
think
show.
Kim
I
was,
love it.
yeah,
Go ahead.
Kim's there. So it was the show You, and we were talking about, you know, it's a stalker and this and that and the other. A black man could never play that role. And I'm like, I really think a black man could. But it's like, now you're talking about entertainment. I want to ask you guys, do you think a black man like a Michael B. Jordan could tackle that part of entertainment by being like a serial stalker killer?
Hell yes, successfully.
And do you think it would be accepted enough?
I don't know. I think so. I think the black community is harsh. I think we are harsh on each other, and I mean we're tough critics. So, you know, somebody like me, I'm pretty open minded. I'm a little bit more objective with certain things, and then when I apply subjectivity to things, it's easy for me to say, hey, I don't like that, but I can understand why other folks do. I would easily watch a Michael B. Jordan film where he's a stalker serial killer or something like that in the same exact role, and I would be totally good with it. But generally, would it be generally accepted? I don't know. That's a good question.
I do agree with Lucky that some things in our culture are norms that
Big facts, Freezy. Sorry.
That we're scared to communicate about and that we don't often talk about, as far as sexual molestation or inappropriate touching. That happens a lot in our culture and communities. Domestic violence and all these different things are issues in our community. And I do think that they're relevant, and that Tyler Perry does have movies that kind of touch on some of those topics, drug use, things like that really do affect our communities heavily. And I don't know if I have too much of a problem with that, because I do think that it's important. I do think it can normalize Black people and make us all a monolith, but I do think that those stories are important and we need to discuss it. And we come from a generation where discussing those things are taboo. And that has been detrimental to Black culture for quite some time. If we don't see how detrimental that's been, I do think that what I am talking about is just this image that Black women, that we just don't value Black men who are good. They have the values that we want. So like constantly reinforcing that message, Lucky, that Black women don't value certain Black men, or that Black men tend to, that if they are the representation of what we want, they tend to not have the morals and values. And it's that type of cultural conditioning that I'm against, I guess, more so than just the stories that really represent things that happen in our community, because I do think those are key to, how we are represented. We need to make sure that we actually tell our true stories, or that we can relate to the stories that are coming out. But some of the conditioning, even in that movie that I was talking about, Temptation, Kim Kardashian was in that movie. And it was just like certain roles and ways that they were portraying Black women versus Black men that I didn't really appreciate. And I think that's a recurring theme in a lot of Black movies, not just Tyler Perry. I'm picking on him because he just has so many that I could just be like, see, in this particular instance, he did this. So that was my issue with it. I do agree with what you said, though, and you made some very valid points.
I just want to say, you said something about to their value. I think that for the most part, we see it displayed, even sometimes in these conversations. Most men, we kind of value men to the level that they value themselves. And typically, most men don't really have values for themselves. Look at the standard. We have a conversation where men are saying, excuse me, that they'll definitely sleep with a duck, like an ugly girl.
Right.
Okay. It don't matter. We'll sleep with anything. That just tells you that there's hardly any standard. As well as you had, I want to say it was a Jen's show, or was it your show? I'm sorry. It was a 52-year-old man came up saying he's been a side dude for his whole life to one girl, like
to a wife.
And he's up there like, I don't believe in love. Why are we listening to people add into the conversation saying stuff like this who does not love themselves If we were honest to more people, if men stopped entertaining the slut that you weren't into and things like this, and just maybe told women the truth, I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Women doing the same thing. Most of us don't do that. So we don't really value ourselves. Like, most men come at you with this low level of value, and then you're supposed to build them up. But we're not the builders.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
We're not the builders. And Shay said he calling fake news on you. He said that women and men do this a lot. Shay, I'm not picking on you, but you guys tell us what we value more than we tell you. We telling you what we really value, but y'all tell us what we value. But here's the thing: women value men who other women want, not about how he sees himself.
Value? No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that point.
That is absolutely false.
And that's from what experience?
Right. Give us more clarity on why you say that, or why you think that.
I don't know too many women. I mean, this is my anecdotal. I always speak from my own experience for the most part, unless we get into data and stuff. But most women I know aren't discussing, hey, I want that guy because I know other women want him. It's not, we do that. Men do that. I want a woman that other men want, and I don't want to deal with the smoke from it, but, but I want, a woman that
I want somebody that other women want. I mean,
to an extent, but we're talking about values, because that's what he mentioned.
Yeah, that's true.
We're talking about women value men women value men that other women want. I'm just not sure that that's necessarily
that's
a center
not where we
of it.
find the value in. I think it's
I think that's what he's
Maybe it's
saying.
semantics.
I think that it's attractive. And if that's what you mean by value, Shay, I do think that to some extent, to some women, that it is attractive when other women like your man or think your man is valuable. But I don't think
I see what Shay's saying.
Yeah. Okay. So here's his other statement. Women want men based on status. Status equals what other women want. How the man sees himself doesn't matter if he got a fat bank account. That's what.
And again, I mean, you got to talk. I mean, we're talking in generalities.
I hate that, because it's like,
but that's what we do.
Sometimes men, you guys don't see yourself past your potential.
Right.
That's the whole point of a relationship as well. Like, especially in today, you have someone who's around you most of the time. They see the things that you probably are so used to sitting in, and you don't even smell that it's shit at this point, because you're so comfortable with it. So you have someone who's pointing out things that they want to see better. It's about working on each other. So if I can't point out certain things that'll make it better, and vice versa, what the hell are we doing? It makes no sense. If you have a problem with improvement, it's just like telling someone, I like when you wear a certain cologne. Like, just wear the damn cologne if you want me to like it. Like, I don't understand the problem in that.
So Daryl said that other races of women, they do help build. That's my only pushback. And they do protect. The NRA highest registered group of gun owners is white women. So I'm assuming, Daryl, that you're equating protection.
He's meaning literally.
He's equating protection to gun ownership, and they will arm up ASAP for the USA and white men. And do you think, I want to ask Gerald this question specifically, do you really think that Black women do not protect Black men? Are you saying that? Because here's my view. We are in a Black male worshiping culture where we protect Black men at all costs, that Black men really don't have to give us very much to go off of, and we will still protect them and have their back and be loyal to them, undyingly loyal. We will stand on the front lines and fight for them in all cases. So I'm just wondering what you mean by that. Do you think because we don't own guns that we won't protect you? Because I know that there's women of all races, but definitely Black women who will ride or die, go to jail, not tell, become loyal, do all kinds of stuff for Black men. So Lucky.
There are examples
and
of
when
both.
I say, I just want to get clear, when I say build, I'm talking about in which the way this conversation always goes. It's like you want someone to pour into you and basically build you up the potential man that usually becomes the Pookie or the Way once you leave him, because he no longer has you to help build him. You know what I'm saying? That's the one that gets talked about. So then that's what I mean as far as when you're trying to push someone to see potential that they don't see in themselves. And that's usually most people.
Oh, you're talking about, I call those men like scholarships, not scholarships. I don't
Projects.
like projects, right? Like they're just, you gotta go through a lot. You gotta fix them and build them up and make them right. I call them projects.
There's a lot of women like that too.
And
you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it is.
It's both ways. But when I say I'm not a builder, I mean the things that should already be done as an
lucky
individual.
men say they don't mind a woman who's a project, right? Women, we're very clear. We've always been very
What guy wants a woman that's a project?
Y'all say that y'all don't mind a woman that's
absolutely not.
That's not where she is supposed to be at, or she doesn't have to bring any real necessary skill sets to the table as long as she has this.
Yeah, but that's not a project.
That is a project though, because guess what? She may not have any other skill sets that's valuable to you, but you guys will value her beauty, her being seemingly
agreeable
to being agreeable, seemingly agreeing to looking as if she's agreeable. You don't know for sure that that's what you're getting. You just assume that. And a fit, what is it? Fit, what is it? Fit.
Well, you're talking about fit, feminine, and friendly, cooperative, that whole ordeal.
And she's fit, and that's enough for you guys. And you really don't care about those other characteristics, whereas women were very
they
clear
care about it. We have to think.
I was gonna say saying not care about it, and this was
them to want.
I said this earlier.
But Lucky, we know that they care about it, but they tell us over and consistently that doesn't matter, that it's not a big deal, that we don't care if you have
ain't no slimmer heifer mess with Big Mama's macaroni. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of effect. Those qualities down the line, it matters. Like that, those little things that he forgets to do that she thinks of before you matters. They only see it when it's not there, when they have to tell the other woman that physically looks better for the most part, those same things that you just got. And that's what I was saying before. We often talk about help build the man up, but there's a lot of good women that get overlooked because her weight, or because maybe she ain't got no edges right now.
Right.
Certain things going on.
The edges.
I mean, certain things could go on in her life.
When that's not even important, because you can really put stuff on there and build you some edges. So why do men worry?
Are they gonna be there during the protective style?
Right.
But my thing is, there are men that are overlooked for their height, which can't be changed.
No, I get that, but this is my point. We hear that more in the conversation than promotion for the women that just need a man to pour into her, and also encourage her to go to the gym with him. Like some women are open and willing, but they get overlooked all the time because of certain aesthetics. So it goes the same way. Most men aren't getting the results because they're looking at the women who like the other men that don't look like them.
Yeah, like this is a perfect example. I have a girlfriend, her husband is like 100% into fitness, and it completely changed her mindset about how she eats. And, she's like completely changed and lost tons of weight after being with him. And it was before they got married. It was like she started to be like into it and wanting to hear more about it, and he encouraged her, and he did it in such a way. I actually need to bring him on the channel because he was so instrumental in her changing her appearance, and now she's like fit.
I've seen lots of examples of that though.
And so I think that it really I think that people place a lot of emphasis on things that I don't know in the grand scheme of things if they're important enough for you not to choose the right partner. And I think the alternative is that now we're just not getting married because people don't meet these basic requirements when we meet them in the first place. So now we're just in our communities, we're just not marrying each other. And then even if we do get married, it's later in life, over the age of 45.
That's because we're focusing too hard on being independent.
Yes.
I'm independent and hear me roar. Congratulations, you live life. Nobody gives a shit. Like that. That's the part that's We are focused on establishing a life first, establishing wealth first, or at least, having an established career. The men often do get judged by what job you have. We joked about this earlier. Yes, I will pull a woman from behind the register at McDonald's, no problem. But a man, especially if he's in his 30s or 40s, are you pulling him from behind the register at McDonald's? Absolutely not. Generally speaking,
And can I say this? So
sure.
When I got married, I was in my career for 10 plus years, but I've literally changed my career path, and I've just grown. I went to school to do something totally different since I've been married. And I think that people think that when you get married that you have to stop doing these things. Like,
yeah, that's BS.
Completely. That's really, it's really the wrong mindset, because I think that when you get married, then you have so much access and opportunities and wealth and resources that you really can do other things that you want to do. Like, I could go to school for makeup, then I really wasn't thinking about that beforehand. And so life doesn't stop, and you don't have to stop doing whatever it is that you want to do just because you got married. And so I do think that partnership, and that's why I push nuclear families and marriage so much, because I do think that partnerships really do change the game for Black people. And so I want to have these conversations to realize, okay, these superficial requirements that we have and expectations that we have of each other are kind of a fallacy, where we can really adjust and change and mold throughout our relationship and marriage if you have the right partner. And to Lucky's point, sometimes we tend to focus on physical features and things that really are something that can change. They're interchangeable, right?
Yeah, but that's what attracts us first.
Something I know it's something that attracts you first, but then a lot of men, they don't admit it, but on the job or anywhere, they're attracted to women and their personalities and how they treat them and things like that are very much more important to them than some other things. And so a lot of people, you tend to kind of, because of societal norms and our expectations of what men they want, a lot of men tend to do that. I want to answer to choose partners based on what other men qualify or what other people qualify as acceptable. Okay. And because you guys control marriage, it's important, because it does contribute to the declining marriage rates and how those things we see a trend of women being married. Because I think later on in life, men are like, I don't give a damn what no man think, I'm gonna marry whoever I want to marry. Yes. And so at some at 40, 45 and up, Lucky, I talked about this, how you see that a lot more Black people get married in our older age. And let me bring Freezy in. I want everybody to answer this question.
Hey, Freezy.
Hey, Freezy.
What's up, beautiful ladies? AJ, what's up, my dog?
What's up, brother?
It says, what does a woman do for a man that builds him? I guess that's the question that they have for us, Shay. Shay has this question, Lucky. What does a woman do for a man that builds him? Something he can't do for himself and better. And don't say sex. That's what he said.
That question.
You know what, Shay?
Because they just make it seem so simplified.
I don't want to present.
I can answer.
Women are really just sex, is what he's saying. So it's
and I don't want to present like that as if I'm homophobic or anything. But I will say that very argument, Shay, is a lot of arguments in the trans women community. And let me say that women and the trans women, they say all the time that, hey, you don't need a woman, because guess what?
Oh, yikes.
We look like women. You can do everything that you do with women with us. And we don't have the implications of having children. Or
I'm not showing my face while you say this.
And so when I hear those talking points, I think it's just no room to grow for women, because we can't argue against our biological.
I don't feel that way.
Yeah, go ahead though, Lucky. I just want you to talk about it.
I think it's just kind of like, okay, Tawana, do you want to see more Black people get married?
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I do.
Okay, AJ.
Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Freezy.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm ignoring people who have questions that kind of set it up to where there's no purpose for us to be together. So if you're not adding to it to follow that purpose, maybe you have a disagreement, but we all have the same ending want. It's kind of like I'm not entertaining it. And that question just sets it up and says, what's the use for women other than sex? And if you feel that way, go play with prostitutes.
Yeah, but that's
I mean,
Lucky,
let me hit that question though real quick. So
go ahead, Lucky. Go ahead. But I mean, that's what I was trying to say, Lucky, was that I hear a lot of the arguments for trans women, and they speak to those points. And really, if you do partner with a trans woman, you won't procreate, you won't have some of the ideas, some of the issues that come with being with a biological woman, right? And so I think that it's hard for us to argue that point, is what I'm saying, right? Because it's like, we're a woman. I don't know what else we can say. I know Shay's saying we're dodging the point, but it's like, why would we argue against our biological?
But I can make this very simple.
Go ahead, AJ. Go ahead. I would love to hear your argument.
Yeah, I can simplify it. So it's pretty simple. I'm a man. I am a cis hetero male. I want a partner in life, and that that partner is a woman. Huh?
Make it clear. Make it clear. Heterosexual.
That's what I said. I'm a cisgendered hetero male. I want a partner in life. I want a partner in life, and that partner is a woman. So at the very basis of it, that's it. That's what my wife does for me. Well, we are partners in this marriage. We've built a successful a life together. Our careers are very established, and we did that based on supporting each other. There is much more, and Lucky, you hit the point earlier. There's much more nuance than just, the typical domestic roles or any of that kind of silliness. That, yeah, sure, I can sweep the floor too. We're not talking about necessarily domestic roles here. I'll give you a perfect example. My wife and I both supported each other when we were pursuing our college degrees. Okay, so I'm prior military. I didn't need a degree for my career. I could have been successful without it, but I wanted to go after it. So the first thing that we did is my wife decided that she wanted to go after her bachelor's. So I supported her in that. Part of her bachelor's was she was required to do an unpaid internship for, I want to say it was roughly a year. And this is back when my income wasn't too high. So my post 9/11 GI Bill that I got from my service to this country supplemented that so that she could grow and get her degree and do what she needed to do. Once that was over with, then I went and pursued my degree. So that's where my wife built me. She supported us and she held that household down and she took care of things and she took on a whole lot of load while I did my homework, while I worked long hours. And, what I did, what I need to do to pursue my degree, and listen to me bitch moan and because my degree is in computer information systems. So programming online is a pain in the ass. And she listened to all my complaining and griping and all of that other stuff. And she was there as a support system for me. So that's how she built me. I'm sure. Go ahead.
I want to say something.
Go ahead. I will say this, that I think that most men value what women do bring to the table, and that is the ability to bear children, the ability to have this balance or this emotional presence, the ability, we pay attention to detail, we do a lot of these things, we're very nurturing, we're very loving. And a lot of men who love women, they appreciate and they really glorify those values about women, and they really want those things. And I think that a lot of it centers men, and it really makes men balanced in a lot of ways when they have a woman who's consistently giving them those attributes consistently, and who they do want to breed with and they do want to start families with. And so I think when people minimize it and say, well, what does she do besides sex? Like, I think that really, to me, puts us in a position where we have no room to grow. And I don't have anything against the trans community. What I'm saying is that a lot of trans women and arguments that I've seen, they really say that they say those things to validate why you shouldn't be with women and why you should be with them, right? And so if we do discount the very fact that women, we do have that biological thing that we bring to the table, it's almost like we women, not that we don't have anything else to bring to the table, but that's a very important thing that I don't think we should be insignificant. If that's what, and I want you to go ahead and talk, Lucky, but I wanted to just say that point. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think when we look at building, when I do, I look at a foundation of something. So what is the core foundation of the relationship that it takes to build on? What can we build on? How do we align with each other? You have bricks, which I like to put as the emotional roller coasters you go through. Are you guys allowing each other to do that as you're building and meeting your goals? Are you making goals together? The roof would be, what do you guys look to? What do you worship? What is your covering at the end of the day? The interior is the things that a woman makes a home. Most men don't even care about what things look like. The coziness a home feels. What makes Christmas and holidays feel like that? So to say, what can a woman bring other than it's just like, why are you even asking that question?
Absolutely.
Was it was he was that like was he actually asking? I mean, was he really saying that was the only thing women can bring to the table? Sex? Was
I
he
don't think
saying
so.
that?
I honestly, but based on what I'm reading for the responses in the chat, it's really he was attacking one of the manosphere points. So that was, and I don't know,
Can you
okay.
explain, AJ? Because I know
So
Shay. I know Shay doesn't agree with a lot of those points, but I was wondering
yeah,
what he was
because
saying about that.
Shay is saying, so manosphere is saying women like your wife are very rare. But this is just, I mean, it is anecdotal, but it's not, the point here is it's not as rare as people think it is. And I think that it's also Shay's point, is that it's not as rare.
They said I didn't read the question. I'm sorry, Shay.
Maybe it's
Because I can
texting.
be.
I always get text messages wrong.
I hope.
And
Yeah. You know
context
what?
tends to be lost in text too. So.
You see how the difference is? Like men heard something totally different than the
Yeah,
women.
that's what I was
Women,
saying.
we're very
Mhm.
different. We read that and we were like, "What are you trying to say about women?" Like, I understand that you probably didn't mean it that way, and I apologize if I read it wrong, completely wrong, because I can be whatever. Let me go back. It said
Trigger warning. Trigger warning.
Shay
I
did a
wasn't
great
triggered.
Shay did a great job in giving us an opportunity to answer a question that people in the manosphere space can't seem to answer for some odd
Okay, I
reason.
see.
It was a
Okay,
great opportunity to, so I was
to
able
just
to do that.
highlight
Lucky was
the
able to do
attribute,
that. Exactly. I'm glad,
the
Lucky, that
attribute
you
of the
that you
woman.
chose to actually answer it, because you had some phenomenal points.
I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
okay.
wait now. I
Go
did
ahead. Go ahead, Juan.
answer that women have a biological, we can bear children. We are very nurturing. We tend to bring that balance to homes. We do. We
Hmm.
bring that to any environment outside of our financial contributions in America, because most women who are married do contribute to the household. So, I mean, I did talk about those things, but I know that men don't necessarily value a woman bringing income into the household. But in a lot of American economies, it is necessary for the woman to work. It's not, it's very rare that a woman does not have to work and she doesn't have to
Hmm.
contribute to the household. It just doesn't happen. I mean, and even if she does, she tends to maybe take a lower like position or income than her husband or her partner, right? He's the breadwinner, or he tends to be the higher earner. Those are the more successful relationships from the trends that I read. But go
I
ahead,
think
Freebie.
it depends on
Yeah.
your. I'm sorry, Freebie.
Go ahead,
No,
love.
go ahead, Asia. Go ahead, Lucky. I want you to respond to that, and then we can let
I
you
think
go.
Shay. I think it depends on, in my opinion, your spiritual alignment. Because when you get married, are you using the Bible? So, what is a woman's purpose? It would be in alignment with you. When you build up spiritually, and then it makes you a man. What do you align with? Then from that, you would have a woman that aligns with you and build you up to your highest potential, and whatever that is, whatever you need her to align with. If you subscribe to Muslims. I'm sure they have, I don't know what they believe in, but you know, they have a particular woman that's supposed to be on their side that aligns with that. If you're a person that just kind of goes about life with no type of belief structure, then I don't know how, just in my opinion, I would be able to answer that question, because as far as building someone up, I start from the inside out, because that's what true success is and how you get things to attract to you. So I don't know anything else other than that.
I think women have a value that men will never have. You know, what I mean, with me, women have a persuasive value that men will never possess. Like, I can probably seal business deals better with a sharp woman that's, on her toes, looks beautiful, intelligent, right next to me. I'll probably seal the deal faster if she's by my side than if I was by myself. So, I mean, we have to look at it like that. Women have a
Right.
I want to say we use this word all the time, anecdotal essence about them that men don't have right in the moment. You understand what I'm saying?
You know, Freezy, other races of men understand that. And when they choose women who align with them in a lot of different ways and also will help them make their business better, right? And I
And their
think
children.
and their children. And I think that a
Mhm.
lot of Black men discount the ability to truly vet women and choose women who specifically, especially who they choose to breed with, right, or choose to procreate with, because they feel like their manhood is somehow defined by the number of women that they choose to engage with, rather than how they choose to, like, for instance, the woman that they choose to partner with and or start a family with. I don't understand why we have that cultural difference. And I often compare men to other men because, like I said, I think it's unfair to compare Black men to Black women. I think it's almost right for us to look at them and compare them to other races of men and the way other races of men have formed their patriarchal societies, and also criticize the way our patriarchal, because from what I understand in the manosphere, you guys want this to be a patriarchal society. So if you do want a patriarchal society, I want to know what Black men, how they're going to form a patriarchal society and what things they're going to do to make this, a norm within our community. And I don't have the answers. I just want to know how we can get to that place, and what things we can do to make this a true, reality. But I do have to look at other races of men that are doing these things, right? Because you guys value their women, because we are often compared to their women. So you guys value their women and their men's patriarchal society. So what are you guys learning and bringing in our community that's going to help you form the same thing?
Well, what I
Right.
was
That's a
going to
great
say,
question.
was going to tie into, because the reason why I cammed up is I wanted to kind of comment on what Luck was saying earlier too.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I can tie this in with you, Tawana, and Luck, because you asked a great question. So Luck was saying that women, it's not highlighted that women are, go through situations where they have uh things about them where men don't accept, as far as, like, their shortcomings or whatnot. But I think the biggest, or the biggest thing about it is, men are usually the ones getting rejected. Women are usually the ones doing the rejecting. So what men have to do, going into Tawana's point, is men got to start grabbing their nuts and stop being afraid of rejection. Stop even caring about rejection. That's the way we grab hold of this patriarchal society. Again, we got to stop being afraid and timid and tiptoeing around, especially around women. Stop being afraid of rejection. Just go for your purpose, live for your purpose. And I think that's the one thing I agree with the manosphere. Live for your purpose. Stop living for, women's approval and all that kind of bullshit. Women have the rejection power in their hands, but at the same time, stop worrying about being rejected, period. That's how I feel.
There's a lot of women that get rejected, Freezy. There's a
Yeah, but
lot of
y'all got the
women
power
that
though.
most
Y'all,
men, but
the reason why I say that, look, is because most men step to women. You don't see a lot of women stepping to men. You understand what I'm saying?
I think it just depends on what the women look like. There are a
Yeah, I
lot of
was.
women now even getting on one knee, they've been doing that, trying to marry men. Why do you think
Crazy.
sometimes men, when they get caught cheating on the woman they really don't want, but maybe they need to use her for whatever situation, or maybe that's not the case. Let's just say he's with her. The first thing they do when they get caught cheating is want to go to the courthouse because they know that's what she's been wanting. They're trying to marry her and put a ring on it and things like that. But if it was someone else that they really wanted, she wouldn't even get that. She wouldn't even be able to get cheated on. You know what I'm saying? So I think it just depends on how you frame rejection. Men
Well, I'm
reject
saying
women
that
all the time.
if you go to your average nightclub, you're not going to see mostly women, stepping to men at the bar or something like that, trying to buy them drinks. You're going to see it the other way around. That's what I'm saying. Like, usually it's what you think, AJ? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, so if we're talking, I mean, there are different types of rejection, of course. I mean, Lucky's not wrong in saying that based on how a woman looks is going to depend on what that rejection is like. And I think that rejection is more tertiary. It's not direct. So it's one of those, nobody ever, as a woman, if I'm an unattractive woman, nobody ever approaches me because I'm an unattractive woman. Whereas with men, because we are the pursuers, to your point, Freezy, when you're in the club and you're approaching women, you're going to experience that rejection in a more direct way. You're going to approach this woman and she's going to, she can potentially clown you or make you look bad in front of your boys or whatever the case may be. So the rejection is different, but it definitely does exist. But we
Exactly.
are
You can
all
get rejected
sure.
because he's only sleeping with you to get to your friend. That's rejection. Like, I mean, if he leaves you for another woman, he's no longer interested. He's rejecting. I mean, I don't know.
so
Women get rejected
you're
all the
saying
time.
you're saying after the relationship has been established, he can reject you for somebody else.
Yeah, I'm just saying it depends on what you mean. Do you mean initially to start off something? Yeah, because men
Yeah,
do approach
yeah,
women
yeah.
for sure. But
Initially,
I'm saying even now there is a lot of women doing the approaching as well. Even attractive women who are getting rejected.
I mean,
Women just aren't out loud about their rejection. Men just are kind of like out loud about being rejected.
so I mean, in a case where an attractive woman is being a bit of, for lack of a better term, aggressive in her approach, she gets rejected because, most guys, I could say with certainty, don't receive that well.
Or she could just be a hoe, just to make it
or
simple.
or it could be that. I mean, yeah, I mean, everybody, it's like everybody I think experiences a certain level of rejection. I mean, and hell, the data even says that when it comes to infidelity and cheating and stuff, men and women kind of, they cheat on each other about around the same percentage rate. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, but
even
that
It's
I don't
just for
even agree
different
with that.
reasons. It's
and
just for
different
different
reasons,
reasons.
yeah.
It's just for
Yeah.
different reasons. Most time women cheat for different
And I
reasons than
believe
men.
it's higher
Emotional.
because those are just the women that got caught.
Absolutely, it could be higher. That's a great point because men don't necessarily expect their women to be out there in them streets. So, yeah,
Well,
absolutely. But that does.
we've been taught to think that women are not sexual beings and that they don't have desires and that women don't. And I think that that's problematic in a lot of men's thinking because a lot of men tend to think, well, I'm the only one who needs to be sexually satisfied in this relationship. And a lot of women are showing that that is absolutely a fallacy, that you guys need to be more intentional about pleasing your woman. And so I'm not saying that that's going to stop women from cheating, but I'm saying that's been hugely reported that men tend to ignore women's sexual desires and things that that they want in the bedroom. And so obviously I'm gonna use Pookie and Ray Ray in this moment. Pookie and Ray Ray come around and they willing to do that. And so that's more attractive to women, right?
Can I ask
So
you guys
yeah.
a question before I drop off? Because I do have just
Hilarious.
one question. I have one question. Is there ever a point in time where it's okay to just say not everybody's gonna win?
Yes, I say that all the time. I hate that we have to try to include everyone. Let's
Ye-
just focus on Kevin Samuel said 10%. Just
Right.
focus
Well,
on
the
10%.
the top 10% of men, because that's what his
No. He's saying he wants it. We just need to focus on 10% of the Black community getting married to tip the point.
Oh, I got you.
To be competitive with other cultures,
Right.
right?
I see what you're saying.
So that
Yeah.
if we just bump us up by 10%, that we would hit it. And I think that because we can't, we have to account for all these other sexualities that are happening, all these other dynamics that are happening. We have to understand that everyone is not going to want marriage or even think it's necessary, etc. So I do agree with him to a certain extent that we have to focus on a subset of the population. I don't know if it's 10%, but a subset of the population who want to partner and think that partnering is important and value that idea. And I think a lot of us are like that. Lucky, do you want to get married one day? Do you think it's important to get married, or how do you feel about it?
I'm just kidding.
Nah. In business out in these streets.
Of course that I want to get married. It's just, it has to be the right way. I understand I sound like most girls, but yeah, we're in 2022, so yes, it has to be in alignment. And I just want to get married one time. Like, I don't want anyone to reject me later, change their mind, or we grew apart. To hell.
Oh Lord.
No, I just think I need a marriage with somebody who's okay with having like another place, because I don't think it's healthy to be around the same person every day.
Lord.
What about you, Freezy? What you think?
Luck want that Oprah and Stedman relationship.
Yeah, basically with no marriage.
No, because you know, like, what if it gets sometime, you never know what you might hit a season in your marriage where y'all just get on each other's nerves and need to leave the house. So then you go to wherever other property y'all have.
Let my wife fix her face and say she wants a house elsewhere. And vice versa. I don't want to just I don't want to put it on just her. Let me fix my face to tell my wife.
You're truly monogamous, AJ. There is some relationships where people are open and they have these.
Lucky's not talking about an open marriage.
Not open marriage, but just more so just people who are not
traditional.
As traditional. That's what I
Good luck finding that.
Not that they're open, but maybe they have more of a contemporary mindset.
If he loved me, he'd understand.
I mean,
it's
who wants to?
Boy, it's gonna be a long road.
Go ahead, Breezy. What you say?
Who wants to live by themselves for the rest of their life? That's so depressing.
And then going to Tiffany Daniels, Tiffany had said it's a damn shame a woman has to ask a man to marry her. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Stop staying with men that don't want to marry you.
Times call for desperate measures, but I never.
Black women.
Black
women.
It doesn't.
Stop
doing that.
Black women need to choose men. If there's one thing I got out of this Kevin Samuels and Nicki Minaj interview, is that we need to choose men that choose us. And I think we need to stop demonizing.
Yes.
I'm going to say this about betas and sigmas. Stop demonizing betas and sigmas. I'm sorry, because I think y'all demonize them a lot, or y'all let other men qualify them.
It's the men who demonize them.
Y'all, because women, we do not.
But they don't care because they want the women. So.
Yeah, we don't talk about men in that way where we like.
We don't talk about us that way. That's just in this weird space.
What's a sigma?
Sigmas are right under alphas if you look at the hierarchy in the chain. The only difference with sigmas is they don't care about other male approvals. They really just feel like, I am my own man and I don't really care what other men think. So they have this sigma. They're sigmas because alpha men have to get qualified by other men, right? Sigmas don't care about that. They could care less. They believe that they are a man in their own right, and they don't need no other man to qualify them. And
shit, I'm a sigma.
Most men are sigma.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty much us.
Most men are sigma or betas. They're not. No.
Most men are not that, because they care what other men think. That's why they put on and they lie on us and lie and say they had sex with us and this and that and the other.
Okay.
Because you know that happens even in high school. Yeah. Like they'll try to get something under their belt.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That type of macho thing for their homies.
Oh yeah.
It definitely meant most men are like that.
You're right. Most men do care. You're right that most men are betas.
And
in
she
a
said,
sense.
"I'm out. I'm
No,
dropping the mic on."
no,
No,
she dropped my
I'm
mistake.
just joking.
She'll
I'm
be back.
joking.
Yeah, she'll be back. But yeah, most men are betas where they do want validation, but they are so insecure they don't know how to get that validation from other
And
men.
let's
However,
all
well,
understand that
however,
validation is different too when we're talking about in the professional space where you're trying to grow your career. Then
it
it's
is not.
important what the opinion of others is. But
No,
when
no,
I
and
leave this
it's
house, yeah,
and free Wi-Fi. She said high school, but it's not just high school because me and Lucky have experienced that in our adulthood. We talked about it extensively. Lucky, could you tell them that
Yeah.
men now at this age still do
we
that?
know, we
Yeah, I
know.
mean, I think it's something about most men don't really talk about the fact of how much they get rejected by women they wish they could have
Of course
or
not.
that look a certain way. And I think we now see in the manosphere mostly they're bashing those women, saying that, oh, we don't want to marry those women that look like this, and the other. But the women that most men today, if she said, you know what, I want to wait till marriage, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. He want her to be a freak hoe. That same woman online that he's probably in these chats talking about, he would never marry. But most of the time when they're trying to talk to those women and those women reject them, if a woman even thought about it for a little bit, maybe had a text message, conversation, maybe one date, and it just didn't work out. Oh, y'all know me and her did woo, 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 woo. And then now men are quick to believe something bad on the woman versus what the woman is saying. That's why most women don't speak out.
But it's only because we're in a black male worshiping culture that we even care why that they disqualify us based on that, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they put
Because
that on our reputation.
I feel like we shouldn't even care. But to Shay's point, Shay says if women reject a set of men, she's technically saying his genes which should be wiped off. And I do think that we should not just a whole entire race of men, Shay. But I do think that there are a certain subset of men that we should reject all the time. And I do think that their genes should be wiped out. I'm sorry. I just do. Because I do think there's a lot of men.
Yeah, some people do not need to repeat
I do
that.
think I think that we need to stop procreating with certain type of men because we're creating.
Yes.
I do think that. I think that women we're so
I'm
powerful.
gonna do the both sides argument on that one.
Okay, but I think women were so powerful that we should be selective in our breeding process and that
No shit.
we should procreate with men who
Like all the
represent
women that screwed Nick Cannon.
that right. They need to right, exactly. There needs to be women who are intentional about the type of men that we procreate with, right? Like so Freezy, like you don't have any children, right, Freezy?
No, ma'am.
Right. See, some woman should have been grabbed you and like like trapped you or something, in my opinion. Like a woman
He got a
should have
Oh
woman.
had
no, not
yeah,
trap.
yeah, like trap because Freezy's clearly a man where he not just gonna have children and procreate with any woman, right? Because
Oh,
he's at a certain age where he's been selective about the woman he's choosing to be with. And so I think that a woman should be running to you because you are a man of a certain age that has decided to be intentional about who you want to have children with. And so therefore women should be like, let me run to this person, right? That's why AJ is wifed up, right? Because his wife saw value in the fact that he was a man who was very intentional about who he chose to procreate with. I think that
this is a great subject. This is
yeah.
a great subject because I actually got pushback the other day saying actually you agreeing with me, Tawana, because I was saying that yeah, that I can say NIGGA on this on YouTube. Okay.
Nah,
We
leave
know
that
I
part
don't
out.
think
I don't know.
so.
They a
I don't
little
think
weird about that one.
okay, we know the N word.
yeah, just call us,
Right.
just call us
We know the N
national.
word ain't ish. We know that,
I
okay?
usually say ninjas.
Okay, we know the ninjas ain't ish. Women, we know that already. But to combat against, okay, like we were talking about single motherhood and all that stuff, right? All I was saying was the way to cut the head off the snake is to just be selective and intentional about what men you're with. Close your legs. Stop sleeping with men just because he got the bag. You understand
That's
what
the
I'm
thing,
saying?
Freezy. I agree. But this is how women are starting to think. Either way, he wants to sleep with me.
Right.
Either way, I might get used after he sleeps with me. Because we're sexual beings as well. We want sex. Men say a lot of things that make you want to have sex with them because it really ain't the money. Usually it's the conversation. So then you get into that. Then you sleep with the man. And it's not usually because of money, but you like, I'd rather mess with a dude who has money because either way, it might be the same outcome. So why not enjoy the ride? That's how women are starting to think.
That's why in other cultures it's prohibited to even have sex until you get married.
Right.
So this dude is
in other
serious
countries,
about
Freezy,
this.
you can't even be outside roaming the streets without being under a man.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
And there is Lucky. I'm sorry. She's proven a point, man. Because, or not proving a point. I'm saying I agree with her point, which is there is a lot of manipulation that happens from the male side of the house. That's why we call it game. I mean, give me a break.
Exactly.
This is why you call it game. So it's about saying every single thing that she wants to hear. We know that women like relationship talk, they like family talk, they like life talk. I can sit here and talk to you all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the romantic stuff. I can do the 5-year, 10-year plan. I can wine and dine for Valentine's Day and undo all that stupid stuff to get exactly what I'm looking for and then dip. I mean, that does happen. It's very rare that a man approaches a woman and says, "Hey, look, I'm just trying to I'm just trying to get it in," and she goes, "Okay." That doesn't. That doesn't.
No.
Right.
I think it's not no. Sorry,
So stop being reckless with your dick.
Do you think it's because they approach the women that obviously look like she's not gonna just be a fuck? You're gonna have to put some work in instead of the women that clearly are advertising that you probably could just ask. Like it could be on their social media. But they prefer to go after the one that probably is looking for something serious. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. It's more like of a challenge.
A conquer thing.
Yeah. So what happens? So basically, what happens? I've seen this, and I will tell you guys, I'm not the POS that's in the club. I'm usually the observer, right? So back when I used to go to the clubs and stuff, I had a lot of friends that didn't typically have issues getting with women. So what they typically did was at the beginning of the night, they would say, okay, I've got a few that I'm going to go after and try to get. That one looks like she's business oriented. That one looks like she's successful. This one looked like she's college educated. I'm going to go after them. And if I strike out with them, which is more of the challenge, by the end of the night, I'm going to look at the hoes, the one that can, that's going to leave with me tonight. So it's a game. The entire thing is a game. I hate to utilize clubs as the example, but that's like the most social space.
How come the conversation never holds men accountable who plays games on women?
They do for us.
Women are like this. Why are they trying to force women who are naturally vulnerable, gullible for love, like we know? But we teach them to try to reprogram them to think outside of that instead of just being careful and protecting them and going against men who play on that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for men like myself, and I would even argue, Freezy, those conversations do happen. They're just not often enough. Mine and Freezy's narrative, our way of thinking, our ideology is not going to get clicks and views.
You know what? We want to have more conversations like this, especially on my channel, because what happens is a lot that we tend to focus on the individuals who are not going to be cooperative, who not going to help build our community and all those other things. And we really need to put more of an emphasis on people like us that really want to come up with a solution, promote these ideas. And Lucky, you're speaking to a good point of setting expectations, boundaries, and Black men need to be more present in the community because you guys used to be a part of the vetting process for their daughters. And so that's kind of a missing component for me, that the Black men are not really vetting the men that their daughters are dating or with, and that the Black daughters are not really, adhering to this patriarchal society, right? Because in my home, my daughter knows that like her dad and my husband will have to vet whoever she brings into this house, right?
My daughter, I got a 14-year-old daughter.
And so what we have to do is kind of pass those things down. And so a patriarchal society is missing. And so I want the Freezies and the AJs of the world to kind of help us establish a patriarchal society, because that's what you guys want. right? Or we can emulate cultures of that have women who tend to head women issues and concerns, and men who tend to head women's issues and concerns, right? Whatever we think, but I think we need to think critically about how we can really present these ideas to our community that really creates this culture of helping us build this vetting process, right? To help us to partner, because partnership is proven to increase income. Okay. It's increased the health of men. Men don't understand that men who get married tend to live longer than single men. And it's just a fact. Okay. It's
Yeah,
been
I
studied.
have a goal to outlive my wife. We got to
Yes.
bet. Whoever
Yes.
dies first
Whoever
has to
dies
pay
first.
up. Yeah.
That's so funny. Thank you guys so much for coming on my panel today. I really appreciate this conversation was
Salute.
great. Lucky, come back on Sunday because I'm really going to talk about this idea that I hate black men. Right? Maybe Lucky, they think you hate
You
black men
do.
too. Maybe they think you hate black men too, Lucky. I
She
think they
does.
think we hate them. And I want to really debunk these ideas. I want to talk about them. And so Sunday, I want y'all all to come back. Thank you guys for supporting me. Please don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe and share my video afterward because we really kind of shared some gems with you guys today. But thank you, Mostly Money. He
Thank
said
you,
this was a great
Tawana.
show. Thank you, Lucky. I want Lucky to
I'm
come
gonna come
back.
back Sunday. I'm gonna try to
You know,
clam up, girl.
Breezy and AJ, they my regulars, but I want you to come back because we really I want to debunk these ideas
Excuse me. Yeah,
that
we just
yeah,
the
I don't need
regulars,
to ask
Freezy.
y'all. Yeah, y'all the regulars. I don't need to ask.
Excuse me. I ain't
But I
coming
want
Sunday.
y'all.
How about that?
Yeah, y'all coming back.
Lucky can
So,
carry this panel.
You
I
know
know
what?
you.
No,
She can because I know
Tawana,
she can.
yes,
you
she
know
really
what?
could. She really
You
could.
know
Yes,
what?
Freaky. Go ahead,
This,
Freaky.
this, you know what? Lucky brought up a good point. I know you are going to end the show,
Go ahead. Go ahead, Freaky.
but it's really like a hamster wheel, isn't it? Like, okay, it's crazy. We should hold men accountable. It's a lot of, it should be the black community should be patriarchal.
That's right.
But then, okay, when the black woman gets pregnant, right, and she has kids, and then she becomes a single mother, it's hard to get okay because okay, I'm not against being a stepfather. I'm not. But now you're faced with asking a man to eventually take on stepfatherhood, right? So it becomes like a hamster wheel because what if your kids are bad as hell? Nobody wants to deal with them. Then okay, now you're expecting Freezer to deal with them. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? You know what I'm gonna say, Freezy. Y'all need
Hey,
to
I'm gonna
y'all
drop
go ahead.
off.
Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead, AJ. Thank you
Nice
so much,
chatting with you, Lucky.
AJ. And I'm about to jump off too, but I want to
Bye,
say this.
AJ.
I
Yeah,
want to
come
say
back
this to
Sunday. We
Freezy.
can take y'all
Yeah,
to church.
we're gonna go back to we're gonna come back on Sunday,
Let's
y'all.
do it.
Sunday, 7 p.m. We're gonna be live. I want to say this before we log off. Freezy, you guys have to pay for the impact that you all have on not really enforcing the patriarchal society. I'm sorry.
That's
So,
true.
so if that means that y'all gotta date women with children, because guess what? This is what our society have created, and this is what the culture
We have
is.
to date men
And
with children.
then we have to date men with children. That's what we have to do. And I want to speak deeper into this issue. So really that entire 2 hours, 3 hours, however long we're on the live on Sunday is going to be dedicated to topics like this. And of course, Breezy gonna come with the fire because he already hit us with that. So
I'm going in.
yes, you going in. Go ahead. Tell them how I hate y'all. I hate black men. Oh, I hate
Haters.
no, just went.
It's more like an Yvette hate.
Yes, like I hate, but
I hate you.
and I'm gonna be on my thumbnail like this, like something real angry, so y'all can really know that
Let me make it.
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna do. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all, gems and jewels. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, logging in, and supporting me. And I want y'all to chime in on this. I'm thinking about changing my name. I am. I'm thinking about changing from Wanna Chica. Okay.
Girl, we could talk.
And I really want y'all to. So I'm thinking about Tawana G. Because Tawana G, that G is my last name. I'm thinking about some names. So I would love to hear y'all comments. My subscribers, my people who follow me, and y'all Freezy and Lucky. Y'all tell me how y'all think. Not right now, but y'all let it marinate. Y'all think about it. I'm thinking about rebranding and changing my name from Wanna Chica,
Girl, I'm
to
already
Tawana G.
rebranding, so that's why I say you can
Yeah.
talk to me
So
or
I'm gonna talk to Lucky because I know she's the great at it. But y'all tell me, my followers, my subscribers, y'all can comment after the video is posted and really just tell me how y'all think about what y'all think about this entire conversation. But also let me know if y'all like the idea of me rebranding and changing my name. And thank you guys so much again. I love you guys, Gems and Jewels. And I will see you on Sunday. All righty. Bye-bye, y'all.